All right. Beautiful stuff, everybody. So we got a great crew here today. So I'll probably repeat this, but just make sure you're in a comfortable place. We'll be doing some meditations and some teachings, having some fun. Maybe we'll do some dancing too, if we feel called. But make sure you're in a comfortable place where you can do a little bit of meditation practice. We're going to be sharing some powerful wisdom with you guys, having some fun, and diving deep into these beautiful energetic practices today. So welcome to everybody just tuning in. And just a reminder, please share where you're tuning in from. I know a bunch of you guys have already done that. New Zealand, I love it. People all over the world. And this is really beautiful. One of the things we're going to discuss today is the collective consciousness. So it's really beautiful to have people all over the world tuning into this beautiful energy. As Darren mentioned, working with this consciousness. We're going to be going very deep into that topic today, the collective consciousness.
Welcome, Nicholas, Jennifer, Sabrina, and Kiana.
So once again, welcome one, welcome all. We'll stall for another minute or two. Check in, let us know where you're from. Or if you feel called, I'd love to hear what you're grateful for. What is it you're grateful for today while we're waiting? I'm grateful for every one of you, having all you guys here. Grateful for sunshine today. Thank you, Carol. Yeah, mention in the chat box while you're waiting. What are you grateful for today? Want to operate from that energy of gratitude, abundance, appreciation. So I'd love to hear what you're grateful for. Where are you tuning in from? What are you grateful for? Grateful for a sense of peace. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Set that tone. What are you grateful for today? Where on this magical planet are you tuning in from? What are you grateful for? Excellent.
Hi, Agamemnon was with us. Grateful for harmonic resonance.
My pops, good to have my dad here.
Yeah. Welcome, Dad.
Hello, hello.
Excellent. Great stuff. Grateful for community, moving towards higher potential. Grateful for life and fiance. Gratefully here to be here. This wonderful opportunity to heal. Yes, I love it. Grateful for food, water, and shelter. Excellent, Nicholas. Great to have you, buddy. Curtis, being able to visit my 97-year-old mom. Yes. Grateful to learn and feel. We'll be talking about that a lot today. I'm grateful for my daughter. It's tuning in today. Excellent. Grateful for the sunrise. Some good stuff to be grateful for, guys. So we'll do like another minute and then we'll get started. For any other stragglers who are just tuning in, just a reminder, please share where you're tuning in from and what is it you're grateful for. We want to set that tone of gratitude.
And also just realize that when you share anything in this space, whether it's just your name or a question or even something you're struggling with, you are bringing your energy into the space and your transmission is helping to build this sacred space. I want you to know every one of us, I mean, Odysseus and I are doing the talking and we're doing the presenting, and we're very grateful to have this opportunity. But in this quantum field, everybody is equally important because you're bringing your presence. So every breath you take consciously in this space, every love that you tune into, and even acknowledging your pain, whatever it is that's real for you, you're contributing. This is not a lecture. So anyway, Odysseus, let's get going with this with people here, and other people will drift in as they can. And
Excellent.
Terry, good to see you. Hey there, Terry. Great to have you. And Rain in Phoenix. Okay, good.
All right, beautiful. Let's get things started. So, first off, I want to say thank you all for tuning in. I am truly honored to be here working with Darren, my mentor. I'm going to introduce him in a moment here. But I want to set the tone for the day, and I want to make sure that you guys are in a comfortable place. We're going to be doing some meditations, we're going to be doing some teachings, we're going to be sharing this ancient wisdom of quantum healing and also shadow work. So, as I mentioned, if you're still tuning in, just share where you're tuning in from, what you're grateful for. And I'll be really clear that our goal here is to cultivate more community, connect more people who are doing the inner work. And essentially, our goal is to heal the collective shadow of humanity. And so, Darren has a range of tools. I have a range of tools. And we're really excited to be sharing this wisdom because Darren's going to talk about this in depth, how the world's going through a lot of changes these days. And every one of us has an opportunity to be a part of making that shift. The darkness reveals the light. I always say in shadow work, the night is darkest before the dawn. And so this dark space the world is in, it's not necessarily bad or good. It's actually a unique opportunity for each and every one of us to actually go deeper into our inner work practices and really awaken to our potential. One of the things we're going to be discussing today, in a few months, Darren and I are going to be co-hosting a retreat in the Santa Cruz Mountains. If you really enjoy the stuff that we're sharing today, we would love for you guys to join us in the Santa Cruz Mountains at the Land of the Medicine Buddha Retreat Center too. So without further ado, let me share with you guys this little story I wrote about Darren as I introduce him, and we'll get things started. So when I first met Darren, I was in a very dark space. I guess you could say I was deep in my shadow. I had this lumbar back pain that wouldn't go away, and I was in massive pain all the time. I went to doctors, therapists, chiropractors, osteopaths. I took pharmaceuticals. I fell into a very dark space thinking that I could not heal. Has anybody else ever experienced that? You've been in a dark place where you didn't think you could heal? Yep. You know what I'm saying? You're like, how am I going to get out of this, right? Deep, dark night of the soul. Now, this constant pain led me to mental health problems. I couldn't think straight. I was afraid I was going to be like this forever. But a fellow coach named Shannon Morse, I don't know if she's here, but much love to her, introduced me to Darren. And this literally changed the trajectory of my entire life. Within 3 sessions, my back was about 80 to 90% better. I felt alive again. I felt safe in my own body. I remember crying tears of happiness after years, I'm telling you guys, years of being stuck in a dark night of the soul. Today, my back is fully healed, and I don't think this would have happened without his guidance and support. And after doing these sessions, I found out that Darren had a quantum healer certification program where I could learn how to become a quantum healer myself. I signed up. I got sober. Can I get a round of applause? Sober 3 years. Partially thank you to Darren and joining his program. I was like, if I'm going to do this quantum healing work, I got to go in. So I quit drinking, got sober, and I just dove into his teachings. Less than a year later, I was blending shadow work and quantum healing and helping people all over the world. Since then, I've co-hosted a few retreats with Darren, and I'm honored to have witnessed the transformation of so many people's lives through quantum healing and shadow work. Darren has written 4 books on healing. He created his own electromagnetic healing machine that is being used all over the world. He's an Oriental medical doctor who also got his start in acupuncture. Today, Darren and I intend to share with you 5 master healing tools to support you on your healing path and level up your skill set so you too can become a master healer, not just for yourself, but for the collective of humanity. And I just want to say, all the work you do on yourself, it doesn't just heal you, it heals everybody. So no pressure, maybe a little bit. So make sure you guys do your inner work. But without further ado, here is my friend, my mentor, and fellow light worker, Darren Starwin. Thank you all so much. I love you.
Wow. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Odysseus. Can I just bask in that for a moment?
Just bathe in it, bathe in it.
Bathe in it, yeah. So we all have our story, and your story is sacred. Your story is a hero's journey. And that's something that I've been really thinking about and writing about a great deal. I'm writing a new book now, my 5th book, is the hero's journey that people, like spiritual people, healers, coaches, like people who are in the space of wanting to awaken their consciousness, heal themselves deeply, and then help bring other people up. There's a special type of hero's journey that we go through that we're going to be touching on in this class. Now, this is a 3-hour class. This is not a typical webinar where we're just having to kind of rush through it. we want to actually give you some of the treasures that we're working with and seeing, bless and uplift other people and share some of these with you. And just like to know how many people here are actually, healthcare practitioners, healers, coaches, or therapists, like just something where you're serving other people. Maybe just put like a number one in the chat if you are in some kind of space like that. So I want to get an idea how many people are in that. Yeah, quite a few people, lots and lots of people. Big yes with Terry Sherman, my dear friend from Phoenix, we taught together for like, what was it, almost 15 years all over the country, and that was wonderful. So good to have you here. Okay, well, anyway, biggest thing about this quantum healing is that it takes place in a sacred space. That's one of the most important things. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin my face while I'm doing this talk right now, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So we're going to start out with a nice unrushed opening meditation to move into sacred space. And I'm going to speak later, more in a teaching way, how you can do this in your own healing business or practice. But right now, I want you to notice, first of all, just what it feels like to you now. So make sure that we're actually recording right now. Record to this computer. Okay, I think he's also recording. I'm recording too. Okay, very good. Okay. So first of all, one of the simplest things is that we want to have this event in a totally safe and clear energy for everybody here. Safety is very important because without that, you won't really be able to open up, right? So one of the simplest ways is to realize that you are an avatar. You have the ability to command energy. Just take that in a moment. There's really no limitation except what we believe we're limited by. So one of the ways to do that, I call it a purity blast. Very simple. You just put your hand like this, and then you simply say with your own conviction, I now command a purity blast. And when you say that, just imagine a giant vortex of light just instantly coming through your room, completely clearing anything that would be lower vibrational energies, and also clearing all the computer equipment, internet, Zoom, everything. So let's do it together. I now command a purity blast. And just see if you can feel that. Take a deep breath. And now the next thing is to be embodied. Everything we're teaching here today is about embodiment. Embodiment means being fully in your body. And yet that's not something that's very common on our planet right now because of all the intense things that are pulling us out all the time. So you can simply use your power of intention to say, I now call all of my energy back into my own body. Take a big breath in. Just like a tape measure, one of those things where it springs back into the case. Just see what that notice what that's like when you're embodied. Because that's all it takes. It's not a big, complicated procedure. You just choose it. Just feel inside of your body. The life force that's inside of your body now, the vibrations of energy. Your body is just a marvelous soup of different vibrations. And each chakra represents a different major form of vibration. Okay, and then grounding. In order to receive what we want to share here today, it's really going to be helpful to be grounded. So take a big breath in and breathe out down to the earth. There's a specific point under the surface of the earth called the Earth Star, and it's 2 feet under the surface or 0.6 of a meter under the surface of the earth if you just went straight down from wherever you're sitting down to where the dirt is underneath you. Just put your attention there for a moment. It's like dropping your center of gravity down to really connect with Pachamama, Mother Earth. And it's so good to feel the love connection with Mother Earth. I mean, what greater love than what's giving you your body right now, your food, the air, the water, This is a part of deep healing when we start loving the earth and really having that relationship with her. Okay, and then another thing that really helps tremendously is to put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your two front upper teeth. That's called the master hookup. And see if you can notice that little bit of electricity when you do that. It's like there's a very strong energy current that runs up the front of your body and up the back, all the Ren and Du channels that acupuncturists are very aware of and work with. And when you put your tongue there, it's like closing the circuit breaker. And then just put your tongue there, take a few deep breaths throughout your whole body. And I'm going to say this several times throughout this presentation. Practice radical self-acceptance. Exactly the way you are now, exactly what you're feeling, whether you're tired, whether you're energized, whether you're feeling really, happy, whether you're feeling funky in different ways, whatever it is, just radical self-acceptance is the way into the quantum field. And then loving presence. When you're actually in your body, when you're actually grounded, when you've cleared yourself, that's when you can really open up to pure love. Now, there's a practice which I learned in Peru when I was working with shamans there in April through shamanic training I've been through. That's incredibly beautiful for creating a sacred space. And I'm going to go do that next. So just put your hands together on your heart, your palms together. I'm going to open up here so you can see me a little better. It's like this. And just connect with your heart space. It's helpful to keep your tongue in that master hookup. Now, as you breathe in, raise up your hands and then put them over your head and separate the palms and just notice what is here above your head. This is called the soul star, sometimes called the eighth chakra. In the Quechua language in Peru, it's called Viracocha. This is actually the radiant energy that is currently creating your body. When your body dies, it'll create whatever the next body is, right here. This is your easiest access point to divine energy. See if you can just sense it, feel it, visualize it, imagine it. That's fine too, just imagine it. When you sense that, or can imagine that golden ball above your head, just touch your fingers together and breathe out and just pull it down all around your body. All the way down under your feet. Now let's go back to the heart again. Put your palms together in front of the heart. Again, connect with your beautiful heart. Radical self-acceptance. Now breathe in again, raising it up. Sense that orb of light above your head. And when you breathe out, this time, let's gift everybody else in the webinar. Just put it out toward the screen. Breathe out, just sending this beautiful energy over everybody. This community. This is a temporary community for 3 hours here today. Beautiful. And just notice if you notice something different after opening up sacred space. If you do, we certainly love it if you put message in the chat, because the more we communicate, the more virtue we're creating, the more you're really expressing your vibration. So whenever you experience something, if you put it in the chat, that's very, very helpful. Oscar said loved. Carol said calmer. Blake said ease and peace. So this is one thing I've learned. I've been working in the healing arts now for almost 40 years. I was an acupuncturist for 25 years. Worked with energy medicine, as Odysseus said, teaching all over the world and working with many forms of energy medicine, microcurrent, light therapy, sound therapy. And this is the greatest discovery of my life and my healing, is that when I do my healing work in a sacred space, magic happens. Miracles happen. And I know, I'm going to tell you a quantum healing joke right now, okay? Quantum healing is 10% technique and 90% realizing you're not the one doing it. Take that. 90% of quantum healing is realizing you're not doing it. That you have this amazing network of light beings, of divine essence, that's creating the miracles with you and through you. I used to be so involved with techniques, and I was teaching them in seminars all over the place, different frequencies of microcurrent and colors of light and acupuncture points and, different movements of the body and massage techniques and facial rejuvenation, aesthetic technique. I mean, it was all technique. That's what I was doing for so many years. And it's such a relief. I still use it. And we're going to teach you some very valuable, you might call techniques here today. But this is number one, is be in the space of the master healer. And when you hear the word master healer, what comes up? So let's see, we got some more messages here. Lee said, I just broke out in chills, felt so much energy. Lori said, floating. Jeffrey said, relaxed. Jennifer, grounded and really chill, like sitting in the middle of a peaceful forest, centered, peaceful. Anyway, energy. So yes, it's very simple. The most powerful things are the simplest things. So what comes up when you hear the word master healer? Some people think it's an ego trip. Oh, look at me, I'm a master healer. Master healer is actually the most humble thing, because you're realizing you're not the doer. That there is the entire power and love and presence of the universe is doing it, and you get to be the one there to participate. A lot of it is building the energy circuitry in your body. That's why the meditation practices, some of the Qigong practices, there's special types of practices we call embodiment practices, are so important, because you're building the circuitry so you can hold this higher vibration, not just once in a while when you're having a great day, but all the time. I mean, I've gone through some really amazing, beautiful, blessed, high experiences this year. I've also had some really crushing, devastating experiences this year. And I'll tell you something, throughout all of it, I never lost track of this consciousness. Isn't that amazing? It's not just when you're in a good mood. My partner, Karina, is upstairs. She just broke her ankle a few days ago, and it's like a horrible experience for her. And yet, when I look at her, she's aware of this consciousness too. We went through something that's as terrible as that. It's a very cruel illusion that we've often believed in, that you have these highs and then you lose it and then you come down. Like maybe the people who got involved with the drug world, it's always like you get high and then you come down, you crash. Well, you never come down from being who you really are. Your human moods go up and down, but you can never come down from being your true self. Blake said, I hear ascended masters. So now I'm just going to ask you to put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth again. And just breathe. Let's just breathe together for a few minutes. Just take a moment of silence. And just sense this field, this quantum field. I mean, I almost feel tears coming to my eyes. the power of community in this consciousness. Now imagine above your head that soul star, once again, that golden orb of light. It's like the divine energy of the universe in a form that you can actually access without like burning up into a cinder. And then beneath you, that earth star. So between heaven and earth is you. And when I said radical self-acceptance, I'm not kidding. Just sense wherever you are, whatever blend of peace, serenity, pain, fatigue, depression, anxiety, whatever it is that's going on in you, just radically accept that this is your hero's journey. Exactly where you are right now. To bravely, courageously embrace where you are and to take these steps that we're going to be talking about today, or whatever version of them, it means to you. We're giving you some possibilities, but whatever your path is. I want to say something about the hero's journey. I've done a lot of research on for my recent book, and my partner Karina has written books about it and studied it for years. Joseph Campbell wrote a book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, back in the 1940s. And what he said is that if you study mythology from all over the world, from ancient times to more modern times, from whether it's in Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Europe, wherever it is, Australia, it has a one common theme. And if you look at the most popular movies like The Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Mission Impossible, like whatever it is that people loved, they follow the same basic pattern of the hero's journey. And what that is you start out in the matrix, or the world that you believe is the reality, that you're programmed and indoctrinated to believe is reality. We all start out there. And then various experiences happen, either disillusioning, painful ones, or very inspiring ones, or meeting certain mentors like Odysseus was talking about earlier, that just kind of rock your world and take you, and show you new possibilities. And then what most people do after they feel that call to go into a new higher level is they refuse to go because they want to stay in their comfort zone. Later for that, that's what everybody does. But eventually something motivates you to go into this other consciousness. And that's where you face everything. And that's where we all are right now, not individually and as a country and as a world. And then as a hero, as an avatar, when you actually courageously move through it, and usually with the help of community, is so vital. And that's what we're all doing. Then you move into this state of greater self-realization of your superpowers, of your deepest love, of your purpose. And then return to this world as someone who can really contribute something of real importance. So we're all on different parts of it, a lot of it at the same time, simultaneously. And I want to say that the major purpose of this event today is to move out of your fear and to step into your higher gifts with conviction and confidence. We actually have the ability to create certainty in an uncertain world. So in the invitation to this webinar, I'm going to turn the music off now for a moment. Okay. So in the invitation you all got in your emails, we made 3 really big claims. We said that if in this webinar, we'd show you how to clear deep energetic blocks, to relieve pain and stress, and to uplift and expand your consciousness. So for that not just to be a bunch of words, what does it really take to actually experience those things? To approach this, I just want to have a little straight talk with you about what's really required for this. This will set the context for the specific, shadow work and quantum healing methods that we're going to talk about. So master healer is not an idealized phrase. It's an assignment that you say yes to, and that's urgently needed on this planet right now. So when you step into that, you're in what I'd call the major growth industry on this planet. Like in the 70s, it was like being a computer programmer. Then it was being a lawyer. Then it was being, as a, I don't know, hedge fund manager. But now there's nothing more wonderful than being a master healer. So, Odysseus mentioned the situation going on in our world, and I know here in the United States, and this is not meant to be a political commentary, but I'll say it can certainly feel overwhelming. So here's the challenge. How do you stay in a high vibration in a world that can seem overwhelming or terrifying? It's not by bypassing your feelings and pretending everything is okay. And it's also not by getting lost in the heaviness of fear, depression, or hopelessness either. The avatar path is another way. It's the way of the master healer. The avatar master healer is deeply human in radical acceptance of her real feelings, including our shadow self. But we're willing to be in relationship with the world and at the same time to embody divine consciousness. That's our dance. That's the dance here, right? So the transmission of the master healer is to be both powerful and vulnerable. So after mentoring thousands of holistic healers all over the world for so long, there's three things. I know the main things that holistic healers struggle with. I've worked with thousands of people. The first thing is really difficult is clients coming to you who are not making lasting breakthroughs in their issues, even after you've done your best efforts. You've done all the best things that you're trained to do, and they still don't get better. That's been one of the greatest pains to me throughout my career. And that's what inspired me to go into this quantum work, is good results wasn't satisfying me. I didn't want these people who had chronic pain and depression and who had been to other doctors and therapists without getting relief to have me as one more person who disappointed them. So that's what made me go really deep into this kind of work. Another thing that we go through often is feeling like drained or burned out. And many of us are very highly sensitive people or empaths, and sometimes feel like we take on but some dark energies from other people and then have to learn how to deal with that. Many of us struggle with money because of our beliefs about that. Another thing that holistic healers go through is often feeling alone and craving some kind of community that could really contain them. And some of the communities they go to end up not being so trustworthy, and then they get maybe a little more cautious. And also knowing that you have great healing gifts, but not being sure exactly how to access them, at least consistently. So this is exactly what we're addressing here, is those main challenges. So if you have had the experience of, if you're a practitioner, the experience of having people come to you and giving all your best efforts and have them still not get better, please put that in the chat, or just put number 1 so we can see how many people have experienced that. So the fact that you have showed up, a lot of people putting that, yeah, I mean, if you're going to be honest, you're going to put that, right? And that's heartbreaking, really, because these people have gone through so much. I want to say that what's really incredible is that I'm having people come to me now who have had extremely difficult issues. I'll tell you some of the stories about them. Ones that would have scared the crap out of me even a few years ago. Like, some people very heavy, like dark energy, possessions, and people have been disappointed by other teachers. And a lot of them are now having much more like amazing results. And again, remember, 90% is knowing I'm not doing it. So I know that you have the power to live a consequential life and create more miracle breakthroughs because you're here. You wouldn't have shown up here if this wasn't in your matrix right now. So to function as an avatar master healer, one of the principles of the shaman's path, which is I want to say something about the word shaman. I've been really studying shamanism a lot and using a lot of these methods. Is that when people have a lot of difficult issues and then they come to a holistic healer of some kind or a therapist, what they're really looking for is a shaman. They may not use that word, but for thousands and thousands of years through human civilization, shamans are the ones that train their consciousness, train, open their hearts, like learn to work in the spirit world and with the earth energies, and learn how to deal with dark energies and to grapple with, things that most people have no idea even exist. And so shamans have been the ones in societies that could actually help people with these difficult things, could help make sure the crops were going to grow or that the hunting, they would find the animals in the hunting area or that protect from the other tribes coming in and attacking them. In other words, they've been the most important people in societies until relatively recently, where now we put all our faith in science and in politicians and lawyers and so on. But what people are looking for is really they're looking for a shaman. You don't have to have that word, but somebody who has those kind of abilities. And so that's what I've realized that it's taken for me. And it's also about like living in non-attachment, living in non-judgment, living in non-suffering, and to live in beauty no matter what's happening around you. So all good things come to you when you accept your path, when you accept your dharma. And Jeffrey was saying that I need a miracle, been an AFib most of the year. Yeah, well, there's a very powerful healing field here, and we're going to be doing a group healing at the end of this event. So please stay to the end. And miracles can happen right here in this webinar. So anybody who has need for this, please make sure you stick around to the end of this. So I want to say that when you understand what your path is and you say yes to it, even if it seems challenging or whatever it is, many, many blessings come to you. I found that to be true. When you're in body, so again, like some of the things, what are some of the blessings that come to you? First of all, you have the satisfaction of helping people way, way more than you could before. The second thing is that your personal healing is deeply improved. Like things that you've been dragging along behind you for decades, you actually start seeing those things clearing up as you really go deeper in your shadow and work with the quantum energy. Third thing is that you actually get to contribute to the situation in our world in a meaningful way, not just feel helpless about it. And then another thing is that, more success tends to come to you because you're really sharing something of great value. So therefore people come, you have more clients, whatever, more money, whatever that thing is. So I recently spoke with Sarah. I did an interview, and I'll have a little video of her to show you later. She's an acupuncturist from Colorado, mother of two young children. And she told me how her consciousness radically opened up after a retreat that we were in just last year, end of last year, that Ody was at also. And one of the stories she told me was that she had a woman who had been through severe sexual trauma when she was growing up, and that she was working with this woman over a period of time doing acupuncture and chakra balancing. And she said the acupuncture would give her about 30% relief, which was good. It was still something. The quantum healing chakra work gave her about 70% relief overall. But then she did this thing called quantum trauma release method. And then this woman had 100% release. And they're both like really blown away because they'd worked together over quite a long period of time. So we're going to show a lot of these examples. So living as an avatar brings you the truest kind of success. So what I want to do now is actually start going into some of the teachings of some of these methods to share with you. So the first one I want to talk about is a little more about creating the sacred space. We already did that earlier. But for those of you that work with clients, even if it's different kind of work, if not healing work, if you're a librarian or if you work in an office or you're a full-time parent, whatever it is you're doing, if you create sacred space before you do whatever you're going to do, the outcomes are way better. So just to review those steps again, is that the first thing to do is to clear your space, where I showed you how to do that, and then call your energy back into your body. We already went over that. Grounding, loving presence. I showed you how to open the space like this. Now, there's one more piece I want to talk about, and that's working with your healing resources or your healing team. Is that when you start working with this kind of quantum energy and energy work and this type of healing, you have an amazing team of divine beings who are there to back you up, to work with you. Now, on the highest level, we're all one. We're not really separate beings. So on the highest level, we call eagle on the medicine wheel, there's really no separation. But because we're human, it feels good to call in your team. So I'll tell you, a very simple thing to do is that when you're about to start any type of work or session, after you ground yourself, like I showed you, and open the sacred space, you just take like a second or two and just say, I'm now calling in my healing team. Just those words, or whatever words you choose. Now, some people may want to call in the presence of Christ. He works with me a great deal. I'm very grateful for it. You might want to call in Kuan Yin or Buddha or whatever it is. It doesn't matter the name you choose, but it's about acknowledging that you're not alone in this. And you actually ask them to help you bring miracle healings for this person in front of you. Not too complicated, is it? And then once you've done those things, then go ahead and do whatever your service is. Now, there's another, I have a PowerPoint to go over some of my healing methods. I'm going to finish with that, and then Odysseus will show you the ones he's going to share with you. So I'm going to share the screen again here. Hold on a moment. Okay. Okay. Odysseus, are we just seeing the PowerPoint or my whole presenter screen now?
I'm seeing the PowerPoint and
Okay.
you're off presenter screen. The screen's shifting to me. So you're looking good, man.
Okay, looking good. Okay, good. So let's go over some of these methods now. So again, just want to say one more time, at this time of history we're living in, the most powerful shifts come through shifts in consciousness. So for you to be a master healer, you become a catalyst for other people to go through shifts in consciousness that are life-changing, that permanently change the trajectory of their life. And it's about getting in touch with that master healer inside of you. So what is an avatar? I wrote this book, Awakening the Avatar Within, in 2021, and it sold about almost 5,000 copies, and a lot of people's lives was changed through this book. We're almost getting done with my newest one now about Master Healer. An avatar is an incarnation of God. It's basically the divine power of the universe expressing itself as a human being, as you. It's not a certain special person. We've grown up to think it's these certain special people like Jesus and Buddha and Kuan Yin and maybe more modern people like Martin Luther King or Gandhi. But actually, it's you. It's us. And I like the term awakening avatar. We're awakening to it. An avatar is somebody who is realizing and awakening to who they really are and doing whatever their purpose is. So just as an example of how powerful we are, this chart comes from the book Power versus Force. And this here you can see all the different levels of consciousness that are described in that book. by um, David Hawkins. So you see, so many people are still cycling through those very low frequencies, guilt, shame, apathy, desire, anger. And then, a lot of people are getting around to the middle one, like being more courageous, speaking out, talking about the truth, at least being neutral, being willing, accepting. Avatars are people that learn how to actually acknowledge all these parts of themselves, but actually spend more time in these higher levels of consciousness. Now, here's the most amazing, mind-blowing thing that Dr. Hawkins said in this book. He said, a single individual vibrating at a high level of consciousness can counterbalance the negative energy of hundreds of thousands of people at lower levels. How powerful does that make you? If you take the responsibility to get in touch with your true consciousness and do the shadow work that's needed, whatever it is that's needed, so you vibrate at that level more of the time, you could be one of those people that helps counterbalance hundreds of thousands of people with negativity. So I did the math. I figured that if each avatar can counterbalance 200,000 people, it would only take 40,000 of us to change this planet. Pretty remarkable. And that at this time, when clients come to you and they're feeling traumatized, chronic pain, migraines, or OCD, a lot of these things, it's not just them. It's part of the collective experience of the human race. Like we're at a time where we're feeling each other's energy much more. So to be a master healer, it's moving beyond the idea of you're just one person treating one person, period. That's not really true anymore. That what that person is bringing to you and what's coming up in yourself is actually part of this collective. That's what we're working on. So through these methods, these are some of the things that I have found people have had radical shifts in: non-responsive chronic pain, depression, anxiety, OCD. I've had some people I've been working with the last few weeks who've had extreme OCD as a result of actually going to bad teachers and getting sort of taken advantage of and things like that. And seeing that actually ease up and the person come back into their serenity. It's pretty amazing. Loss of purpose, feeling stuck, having other therapies not working, fatigue, burnout, self-defeating patterns in relationships and finances, and creating healthy boundaries. Just a few of the things that people who are coming to me are dealing with. Now, one of the quantum healing methods that's the simplest that you can start doing right away is when you want to help another person with some kind of healing art, don't see them as a person with headaches, or don't see them as a person who has anxiety. Don't see them as a person with back pain. See them as already healed. This is a quantum shift that you can just make once you know about this. Like, somebody has something bad happen to them. See them as cancer-free. See them as pain-free. And then that doesn't mean you don't do techniques. You can still do acupuncture or do chiropractic or whatever they need, of course. But you start by holding that image of them. And it's similar to when Michelangelo saw a block of marble and he saw the Pieta in it. And he said, I chipped away everything that was not the Pieta in that block of marble. And then this gorgeous sculpture emerged. That's what it's like to be a quantum healer. You see them as already whole and then do whatever you need to do to help fulfill that vision. So let's try that for a moment now. I'd like you to think of someone you know, or it could be yourself if necessary, who is going through a lot of difficulties right now. Someone who's really suffering now with something. It's not too hard probably to think of that, right? And now, just open your heart and just through a shift in consciousness right now, imagine that person is radiantly healthy, walking, dancing, feeling good, whatever it is that they can't do now. It's feeling relieved because they're healthy now. Just take a moment to imagine that. And again, if you have something to say, in the chat about what that's like, we welcome you to do that. But here's the amazing thing. Excuse me.
Hey, Darren, can you switch to full screen? because a couple people are sharing the chat box. They can see your notes. So switch to full screen.
Okay. See, there's a way I can do that through Zoom. Okay. Okay, go to full screen. Okay, fine. Screen share as the shared window is closed. Let me try this again. Okay. How's that?
Better, much better.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a science called epigenetics, which is how gene expression is changed in your DNA of your body. And this amazing science has shown that when you change the inputs into you, like, what you're eating, what you're thinking, what the environment around you, it actually changes your gene expression. So when you see somebody who's already healed and you have that, it actually affects them and it changes the epigenetic pathways. It actually helps them to heal. So then whatever method you do is going to work better. So that's one of the simple, very simple quantum healing methods. Now, the next one I want to talk about is working with chakras through the radiant energy field. So this picture here would show somebody with a very clear energy field. So just like look at this a moment. I mean, it's just a Photoshop image, but see what it evokes in you. Is that if you were to be really clear, this is probably what you'd look like clairvoyantly. But very few people in our world actually look like this. What we mostly look like is more like this. This is what's more considered average and normal. It means that your energy field has all these dark imprints in many, many areas that are based on, your childhood, based on your ancestors, based on different soul groups you're part of. It could be, different energies of like family curse or difficult things you went through or, divorces you went through where there was never complete forgiveness, whatever it is, people more look like this. And that's why, the world is the way it is. So with this method that I'm going to introduce to you is about how you can actually help somebody to clear these imprints through their radiant energy field. And the way you can do that is through the chakra system. So each chakra is part of your radiant energy field. They're not just vortexes in your body. They're focal points, microcosms of universal divine qualities. And so again, when your chakras are all open, you're a happy camper. I mean, you're expressing, you're creative, you're in the flow. So what we can do is determine one of the chakras that actually that connects to some of the dark stuff that's going on in the field and use that as a way to clear. So a lot of the greatest results I've had recently has been using methods like this. So again, here's another picture. This image on the left would show somebody with clear chakras. And when I get done with healing sessions, that's what they look like because I can test them and tell that. The one on the right would show somebody who has these imprints affecting the chakras. So like, for instance, what this one over here could represent is person feeling their crown chakra kind of closed off. So they feel more like a muggle, not as in touch with, higher consciousness and therefore just more stuck in their mind. This could be in the heart chakra, like some old unforgiven relationship, just sort of weighing down their heart in some way. This could be anger that is being repressed. It isn't really being expressed in the shadow part of the lower chakras. So that's what we do with this quantum healing is finding and clearing these. So I'm going to put on this video right now that briefly shows an actual practical way, a way to test chakras and a way to help balance them. So this is about, I think, a 4-minute video. This one works is that you're using a muscle test that you can check as you activate or put energy on each chakra. So would you please put your hands up like this with the backs of your hands together? So with this test, you can simply have the person put their hand in this position, lightly touch their wrists, and now please hold them together. All I have to do is very gently try to pull them apart. I can feel just basically good resistance. Like I'd have to pull pretty hard to pull your arms apart. Okay, so just leave them right there. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of attention on each chakra so that I know that I'm focusing on it. So for the root chakra, I don't really want to touch that area, so I'm just going to put my hand over the root chakra and just move like this a few times. That activates the energy there. Now please hold them together, nice and strong. Now going up to the second chakra area, and this time I'm going to tap on the body for the rest of them. 3 taps. Now hold. A little weaker there. Okay. Now navel. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter which hand you tap with. Okay, to hold. That's definitely stronger. Solar plexus. I can feel right there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold. Nice and strong. Your heart chakra. 1, 2, 3. Hold. Very strong. Throat. 1, 2, 3. Throat is here in the lower part of the neck where it meets the body. Hold. Very strong. Third eye. Hold. Crown. If I go back to the second chakra area, hold. See, it's not much strength there. So that's another method of knowing what's going on with the chakras. You can rest your arms. Thanks for keeping them up all that time. Okay, when we tested her, we found out that her second chakra was somewhat depleted and all the other chakras seemed to be healthy. Now I'm going to recheck to make sure that's still the case. Yep, I can feel that. Okay, yeah, it's kind of like it's pulling me in rather than pushing me out. Okay, one of those methods is called the breath of ascension. The other one is using my hands in spiral movements to put energy in or pull it out as needed. Let's start with that one. So the first thing whenever a chakra is imbalanced is to clear it out. There's usually something that's accumulated, some kind of feeling or emotion or belief or some kind of energy that's come from some other place that is in some way bogging down the chakra. So the first thing is to clear. You know, similar to my acupuncture training. They say first clear or detoxify or sedate the pain and then tonify to increase the energy. It's a similar principle to that. So what I'm going to do is put my hand right down this area and start with my fingers making a counterclockwise spiral. This is clearing, and the spiral gradually gets bigger and my hand gradually gets higher. I'm connecting with the energy, clearing, clearing, clearing. Okay, so that's the clearing part of it. Yeah. So what did that feel like to you?
Just felt like movement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now to put some good energy back into the chakra and increase its vitality, I'm going to start high with a clockwise. This is the opposite direction I was doing before. Clockwise movement. And again, sort of like a vortex, a cone shape, moving closer to the body and this time getting smaller and more focused. Until I get down to the chakra. What did you notice with that one?
I felt like something indrawing.
Yeah. Okay, indrawing, that's what it was. So now we're going to retest. So why don't you put your hands back up, the backs of your hands together. I'm going to tap. 1, 2, 3. You know, hold. I'm starting, when I pull apart, I start with extremely light pressure and then gradually increase it. So that's the most accurate. So starting very light pressure, Howard. Now a little bit more, a little bit more. Now I'm pulling pretty hard. And it's not budging, like you're really rock solid. I'm pulling really hard now. So that's quite a shift for how it was before. Thank you. Okay, so this is a simple method that you can actually start working with if you'd like. Again, to review, the person uses some type of muscle test. That's one very convenient one, having the arms up like that. The backs of their hands together, and you just try to separate them. All you have to do is tap on the chakra, and then the body's attention goes there. And then if you separate it, if it separates easily, it means there's some weakness or blockage. If it stays very strong together, it means that chakra is in really good shape. It's a happy chakra. And then to review again, this form of clearing is counterclockwise movements over the chakra with your hand. You don't actually have to go that high off the body like I did. It can just be relatively closer. But another thing that's very useful is to have a candle flame a candle sitting next to your treatment table. And basically, after you do some of those counterclockwise movements, you just flick your hand, whatever energies you pulled out, into the candle, and it instantly is transformed. And then put the good energy back in. Again, this is a very, very simple, great place to start with this type of work. Okay, so here's an example. A woman I work with who had right shoulder pain, who had tried several different methods, and the shoulder pain was not going away. She's also feeling drained, emotionally disturbed. And so I could tell it wasn't really just about the shoulder. So the first thing we did, this method I just showed you, found out what I think was the navel chakra was affected. So first I cleared that chakra using very similar to what I showed you in that video. There's some other methods I can't go into all of it now, but basically use something like that. And that chakra became cleared, was better. And guess what? Her shoulder pain got worse. Well, I know when that happens, it means that there's a lot of attention going to that area. So I did something called a shamanic extraction, which is we're actually a different way of pulling out some type of toxic or disturbing energy from her shoulder. And as soon as I did that, that took about like 1 minute, shoulder pain completely vanished. Her mood got better, energy got better, and just felt really, really good. Everything was balanced. So just think about that. She could have gone to chiropractors, acupuncturists, massage therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists who would work on her shoulder. But if they didn't pull out that other energy, it wouldn't have been lasting relief. So that's why how powerful this work is. So quantum healing, there's 3 main steps: releasing, which is pretty obvious what that means; rewiring, which is where you actually build up the circuitry in your own nervous system to be able to hold this higher frequency much more consistently in yourself. And you can teach clients how to do that as well. And when you teach them how to do it, they become their own healer, which is to me the greatest thing that I could do for them, right? And then realizing means that now that you're more clear, you're more balanced, you do your thing. You're as an avatar, you do the purpose that you're here to do, and be part of this movement toward transforming people, our community, and the world. Now, this quantum healing works very well remotely. In fact, 90% of my sessions are remote sessions, and they work just as well as if the person's in the room. So that's also very convenient when, because for many people, that works better than having to have an office or having to see everybody in person. And the biggest thing about this is you're developing a trusting, deeply intuitive relationship with the divine.
A young woman in
I already.
Follow
I'm going to wait on that one for a moment. Let's see, I'm going to actually turn this power, come back to it later. But the last thing I want to say before I turn this over to Ody is the third thing I want to say about the 5 methods that we're talking about is really seeing the root of why people have suffering. This is pretty radical. It's like Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole and seeing how deep it goes. And there's 2 words I want to introduce, and then he'll speak about them also. One of them is called wetiko, and the other one is ayni, A-Y-N-I. So basically, wetiko is basically it's a mind virus that has infected the human race. When people act out in horrible, cruel ways, and when we have leaders who operate in ways that are just bewildering, and people are reliving some of their older shadowy things, it's wetiko. It's something that actually literally infects the human mind and spirit and causes people to act in much more negative ways and think in much more negative ways than they actually would normally do on their own. It's a very deep thing to understand, and we can only talk about it a little bit here. So when you understand that a lot of people who are going through a lot of suffering and stuckness in their life, it's not really them. It's actually that somehow they're being affected by this. And if you can see that and help them move out of that, they can move into what we call ayni, which is living in sacred reciprocity, living in balance with yourself and others and with the earth. This is actually one of the deepest forms of healing. Because yes, we help people with their shoulders and their headaches and these different issues, but ultimately what heals your life is coming into the sacred reciprocity. And what's making the world so crazy now is so many of us have moved out of that. My country, the United States, is more or less trying to move in the opposite direction from INE, the government of the United States right now. So each of us needs to help us bring this back. So it's about like that your giving and your receiving is more balanced. Like for some people, they're overgiving, right? Like a lot of healers do that. They're overgiving, and not receiving enough back and getting burned out from that. So for them, INE might be being more open to receiving, right? For other people, it's giving back more. So when you hear people talk, or let's say who are really financially successful, and they talk about, I'm doing volunteer work because I want to give back. This is what they're talking about. They're coming back into INE. And it's great to be financially successful because that allows you to be even more fruitful and serve on a higher level. So these are really, some of the things that we've been working with lately. There's so many stories I have, but at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Odysseus, who's going to talk about shadow work, which was he wrote a book called Shadow Awakening. And just to introduce him a little bit, he's such a beloved person to me. He's actually the same age as my daughter, and I'm the same age as his father, but I'm so proud of what he's doing. He has a degree in kinesiology and nutrition from San Diego State University, as well as multiple coaching certifications. He's been a lifestyle and wellness coach for over 20 years, accumulating over 20,000 hours of experience. That's a lot. He also ran his own private gym for 11 years, and he has a best-selling book out called Shadow Awakening that's helping people integrate their shadow all over the world. Now, Odysseus's transcendent teachings are now expressed through the Alchemy Healing Academy. He's created his own academy. He already has, he's very booked up with students, like for coaching, for healing, for also physical coaching as well, and spiritual coaching, which is a great combination. And he's helping people overcome addiction, to get sober from their addictions, and to heal deep emotional pain at a soul level. Now, women love Odysseus, not only because he's such a hunk, but because he's such a trustworthy, deep, integral man. So a lot of his clients are women, and they totally trust him to go into this deep shadow realm and have these transformations, and guiding them on their healing path and helping them through embodiment practices and shifting their mindset through quantum psychology. In fact, Odysseus has often been called the mommy whisperer because he helped so many mothers lose weight. And he helped his own mother lose 60 pounds within 5 months, and it actually helped her heal cancer she was going through. Now, 2 years ago, Odysseus completed my year-long quantum healer certification program, and together we've run multiple retreats now since then. And it's always a joy to be with him, because he's really funny. He's super helpful. He's a great healer. He's a real connector for everybody. And we have one coming up, as you mentioned, December 4th through 8th, Land of Medicine Buddha, that we're going to be co-teaching for the first time. So as we transition into this topic of shadow work, I'd like to remind you, you can't be a light worker unless you've done your shadow work. And Ody, was short for Odysseus, is going to guide us into the darkness to reveal the light through this process called shadow awakening. So Odysseus, I'm turning it over to you. Would you like me to pin you?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much, Darren. So I got a few things I'm going to share with you guys. And first off, I'm going to go a little old school. I have some drawings I want to share with you. And then I have a little PowerPoint presentation. And before I do that, I love in the chat box for people to just share, what is shadow work to you? What is shadow work to you? What does those words mean to you? What a hunk. Thanks, Nicholas. And thank you for that great intro, Darren. I really appreciate that. And while you guys are typing in the chat box, what does shadow work mean to you? I like to kind of test the temperature of the room and see where people are at. Like, what does those words mean, shadow work? It's something that, since Darren mentioned all that stuff about me and like like working with Darren has really helped me with healing my own wounds around the masculine. I grew up with a father who worked in Hollywood. He was a sound mixer. And it's weird, you guys. I had a father figure who was like a great listener. How many of us know men who are great listeners? Raise your hand. Nobody's raising their hand. Right? So growing up with my father helping me and being a great listener, and then meeting Darren, it really helped me with really awakening my potential. So thank you so much for that, Darren. Beautiful. So shadow work, your inner healing inner wounds, transmuting them, facing and dealing with more rejected parts of ourselves. It means working on your blind spots. Yes, beautiful stuff. Exploring the unconscious parts of the self. Excellent. Trying to understand what it is better, feeling like it is grief, trauma that needs releasing. My dad was a great listener. Nice. We got a few other great dads who are great listeners. Thank you. All right. Shadow work is looking at the parts we cannot see. So the first thing, what year did you graduate San Diego State? I was 2007, San Diego State. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do with you guys is, because Darren mentioned David Hawkins' work, I'm going to read something from one of David Hawkins' other books called Letting Go. And I actually read this a couple months ago when I was traveling in Thailand and Malaysia. And essentially, one of the key things when we talk about shadow work is we're talking about suppression and repression. So suppressed emotions and repressed emotions. So I want to make sure that we're clear on what those words mean. And then we're going to break down what this symbol means. So repression happens unconsciously. Okay, we're going to clearly define that for you guys. Repression happens unconsciously, and suppression happens consciously. Now, the feelings we select to suppress or repress are in accord with the conscious and unconscious programs that we carry with us from social customs and family training. The pressure of suppressed feelings is later felt as irritability, mood swings, tension in muscles of the neck and back, indigestion, insomnia, hypertension, allergies, and other somatic conditions. When we repress a feeling, it is because there is so much guilt and fear over the feeling that is not even consciously felt at all. It becomes instantly thrust into the unconscious as soon as it threatens to emerge. The repressed feeling is handled in a variety of ways to ensure that it stays repressed and out of awareness. And a big part of shadow work is about creating awareness. And so I have this symbol. Anybody know what this symbol means? Put a 1 if you know what this symbol means. Put a 1 in the chat box. Do you know what the yin yang symbol is? The Tai Chi symbol means? Beautiful. Everyone's like, yeah, I know what it means. We're going to clearly define what this means for you guys. And I'm curious, has anybody ever heard of the book, The Tao of Physics? I'm going to touch on this, and you see the symbol right there on the cover of the book. So essentially what I'm going to do for you guys and explain, this is what it says in the cover of this book, an exploration of the parallels between modern physics and Eastern mysticism. This is one of my favorite books, probably top 10 all time. So what I'm going to do is I made this picture for you guys, and we're going to break down what this means. Now, if you see this, if you look at quantum mechanics, we're talking about a particle and we're talking about a wave. And I actually only discovered this a few months ago. I've been using this symbol for years. When I was a kid, I used to draw yin-yang symbols. And essentially, our entire reality, I'm going to say this very slow, this is so important. You're either identified as a particle or you're identified as a wave. Now, what you can do is you can actually shift your consciousness. When you're over-identified as a particle, it's very much a linear consciousness, okay? Joe Dispenza actually talks about this as well. And essentially, I have this picture for you guys I'm going to share. And what happens is when you're identified as a particle, your reality can become very dense. And this leads to stuck emotions, okay? These deeply suppressed or repressed denied emotions. And so I have this beautiful picture here, and we have 2 types of consciousness. We have the linear consciousness, where we're identified with the past or the future, okay? And that's the linear consciousness. And then we have the quantum consciousness, which is more like a wave. You remember a moment ago, I just said to you guys, you're either a particle or you're a wave. I'm trying to explain this as simply as possible, because it's literally, this is one of the most ancient symbols. So what happens is when you're identified as a particle, you're stuck in your past, you're stuck in your future. And all change, if you're taking notes, all change happens at the identity level of our consciousness. And as I mentioned, Joe Dispenza talks about this as well. So if you're identified with your past, you're probably suffering from depression. If you're identified with your future, you're probably suffering from anxiety. So how do you shift out of this consciousness? You have to change the way you see the world. You have to change your identity, okay? Now, if you see in the center here, the word time, if you look at the word time backwards, it's emit. time backwards is emit, because when we start to shift our awareness from this linear consciousness, this Newtonian, Cartesian, linear consciousness that is very dense, it's like a bunch of particles, it's very, very dense. We begin to move into this reality where we see things as energy. We now have shifted from a particle into a wave. And that is more Wu Wei, flow state. We are not over-identified with our ego, because shadow work is about working with the darkest parts of our psyche. We're going to get into that in a few minutes. Hopefully this is making sense for you guys. So what we do is when we move from this reality, this linear reality, we're stuck in duality, right? See how there's two dots there? Good, bad, good, bad. I'm going crazy. I need pharmaceutical drugs. I need therapy. I need all these things. No, and none of those things are good or bad. But when you start to see the world as energy, remember time backwards is emit, then you start to see the world, because like this is a straight line, you guys, and this is a wavy line. They're both lines. But the difference is this. When things are quote unquote bad, that would be considered yin energy. When they're good, that's yang. And when we begin to transcend duality, what I like to call is end the trance, transcend, you end the trance that you are in, you move out of this linear consciousness into this quantum consciousness, you begin to see the world as yin or yang. You begin to flow through life, okay? Now, this was a big shift for me. Actually, years ago, shout out to Karina, who's healing from her injured ankle. Years ago, I snapped my Achilles tendon. I was actually in Tokyo, Japan. It was the worst experience of my life. Imagine snapping your Achilles in Tokyo. And so I went to this space that was very dark, and I had the greatest spiritual growth during that period of time. And it really helped me to tap into, like, I was afraid. I was living in fear. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I can't walk. But it taught me to begin to shift into this quantum level of consciousness. Now, has anybody ever heard of the story of the Chinese farmer? Anybody? Story of the Chinese farmer? One of my favorite stories. So I'm going to share it real quick because it really breaks this down to understand the linear consciousness and the quantum consciousness. So real quickly, the story of the Chinese farmer. So once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer, and that Chinese farmer had a horse. One day, the horse ran away, and the people of the town who were in the linear consciousness said, oh my God, that's so bad that your horse ran away. And the Chinese farmer, who was operating from the quantum consciousness, said, maybe. The next day, the Chinese farmer's horse came back and brought 3 wild horses with him. And the people of the town who were in the linear model of consciousness said, oh my God, that's so good that your horse brought these 3 wild horses with him. And the Chinese farmer, who was in the quantum model of consciousness, said, maybe. On the 3rd day, the Chinese farmer's son went to go tame one of the wild horses, and he fell and broke his leg. And so the people of the town who were stuck in duality and still living in linear consciousness said, oh my God, that's so bad that your son fell and broke his leg. And the Chinese farmer, who is still in that quantum level of consciousness, said, maybe. And on the final day, the military came to take the Chinese farmer's son to go to war, where he would surely have died. But he'd fallen and broken his leg. And so the people of the town who were stuck in the linear model of consciousness, bad, good, bad, I need pills, I need help, they said, that's so good that your son fell and broke his leg. And the Chinese farmer said, maybe, because the Chinese farmer was in Wu Wei. He was in flow state. And one of my favorite quotes from Shakespeare is, nothing is either good or bad. Thinking makes it so. So the first thing that I teach, and this is one of my nuggets for the 5 methods for healing, is learning how to quantum think, to be able to shift yourself out of this linear consciousness. And most of society is punch drunk in love with their own suffering. They're, oh my God, I get to suffer again, because they're stuck in this linear model of consciousness. I got Carol laughing over here. It's good because I do my best. Like, I love teaching this stuff. Like, and some people in this group, or they're on some of my calls in my academy. I love teaching this stuff. I'm very passionate, and I do my best to have a sense of humor about this, because you just see people like one of my Oscar, who's on this call. He's like, man, I was on a call the other day. He's like, everyone's so stuck in the linear consciousness. They don't see the quantum field. And I was like, well, it takes time. It's just like going to the gym. You got to do those reps and you strengthen that, but it's not so much your muscles. It really comes down to your nervous system. It really comes down. Yeah, it's your mind, but it's also the connection between the mind and the body. And a lot of this really comes down to getting to the root of people's suffering. So is this all making sense so far? Drop a 1 in the chat box if this is making sense. I want to make sure that you guys are tuned in, enjoying this. Quick 1. Excellent. Because like, I remember for years, like I'm remember a little kid, I always draw the symbol. And then I realized like, oh my God, this symbol explains everything. Because most people who are suffering, they are a particle. And those people who are not suffering, they are identified as the wave. You're going to be moving in and out of those realities. You're still going to be around people stuck in that reality. Now, one more picture. This is my favorite one. Okay. So we're going to discuss the different levels of consciousness. Okay. This is really important, like extremely important in terms of understanding your own healing journey. And many of you are practitioners. And this is really powerful in terms of like, I've shared this with like world-class coaches and healers and like, Ody, this is the most beautiful way of explaining shadow work. And then we're going to get into my PowerPoint presentation. So we're going to discuss what's called the different levels of consciousness. And this comes back to what I just mentioned, quantum psychology and how we transition into shadow work. Okay. Because we want to identify where is your shadow? What is the shadow? Because it's very abstract. So we're going over what's called the different levels of consciousness. You guys like my picture here? I'm a great stick figure artist, right? You love that? There we go. So my whiteboard pen skills. So essentially we have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. And we can even say there's a fourth level of consciousness, which is super consciousness, when you're really tapped into your highest self. We're going to focus on you can't get into that higher state of consciousness unless you've worked with the unconscious first. You got to grow. Would you guys agree? You got to grow the roots. Got to grow the roots before the branches grow. You get people in the spiritual community like, I'm ascending to the heavens. Like, but bro, you didn't do your shadow work and grow the roots. Sorry. That's fake. No, that's fake ascension. You got to go into that dark, feminine, yin energetic space and grow the roots. And the true divine masculine rises from that. And I'm still working on that myself, you guys. But let's break this down. So as I mentioned, this is a very powerful way to explain shadow work. And I highly recommend a lot of my clients use this to teach this to other people as well. So you could be consciously heading towards your goal. Let's say you want to make more money, find true love. You want to go to an island destination. I remember years ago, I wanted to travel. I've done 6 trips to Southeast Asia. All right. So you could be consciously, we'll say, because I used to be a fitness coach, I always use the example. Let's say you want to lose weight and get in shape. So like you're exercising, you're eating healthy, you're on this boat. This is you. I'll give you some nice, pretty hair for you ladies, right? So you're consciously heading towards your goal. You're doing all the things, exercising, eating healthy. You're doing your yoga lattes. You're doing all these different workouts and things, right? But, oh my God, this is a big but. I'm not talking about your butt, but this is a big but, okay? So your subconscious mind is going against you. And that's why this image is so powerful. Because your subconscious mind, you guys, are you taking notes? You should be. Get that pen out, boy. Your subconscious mind only works on images. Okay? It only works on images. So as I'm teaching this to you, I'm praying to the heavens above that I can imprint this image into your mind so you can begin to do your shadow work through this image. So you're exercising, you're eating healthy, but you have this subconscious image, and we're going to go over limiting beliefs a little bit. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of love. I'm a victim. Imagine trying to go out on dates and you don't feel like you're worthy of love. Good luck with your dating life, right? Imagine trying to lose weight and still feeling like a victim. You're feeding your deeply suppressed emotions, right? So one of the first things that I used to teach, I was teaching this like 10 years ago, doing speeches all over the Bay Area. So what happens is, as we begin to identify, this is what I do with my clients, like what is the image you're carrying in your subconscious mind? And as we identify, remember all change, I'll write this at the top, all change happens at the identity level of our consciousness, okay? Underline that, the identity level of our consciousness. We have to figure out what is the image that you identify with. And as you begin to identify that image, you can begin to shift this. All right. So the subconscious mind is all about images, but what about the unconscious? I was actually teaching this to a 17-year-old a high school kid over here yesterday, and he asked me, what's the difference between subconscious and unconscious, right? This is not often taught. This literally changed my whole perception of shadow work. So a lot of people are stuck here subconsciously with the current going against you. Anybody here ever been rowing a boat against a current? It's pretty hard, right? You're trying to get to your destination. You're going nowhere, right? You're just rowing and rowing. Like, you could get there, but you're going to burn yourself out, right? A lot of yang energy, just burning yourself out, trying to get to your destination. Now, here's where the real shift occurs. Remember, we talked about all change happens at the identity level of our consciousness. Okay. So many people, they're not just sitting here guiding the boat. They're actually sitting here on the back of the boat, and they are so identified with their past. Okay. Alan Watts, actually, I got some of this comes from Alan Watts' teachings, where it's like you are so identified with your past, you're sitting here staring at the past, that the boat is now completely off course. How can you get to your destination if you are identified with your past? This also relates back to what I just showed you guys here. You're stuck in the past, okay? So this totally relates. Another thing I want to take a note of here, you guys, like notice how this is a boat and this is water. What's your body made of? What's your body mostly made of? Oh, it's made of water. Oh my, you guys see what we're doing here? Your body's made of water. So there's an image, and this comes back to like what Darren started us out with today. When we calm the water, the body down, we can see below the surface. This is why in our overstimulating world, your meditation practice, your breathwork practice, your grounding practice is priceless. This is something that like Darren actually really helped me level up my skill set. Now I'm teaching other people. But back to the point here, right? So some people are sitting on the back of this boat, and now we're going to get into the unconscious. People have actually thrown an anchor into the water, or they've thrown multiple anchors into the water. And now that anchor is deeply in the unconscious mind. Excuse me. And what happens is this is your deeply suppressed anger, your guilt, your shame, your sadness. And they're so deeply suppressed or repressed, and we talked about that earlier, okay, that you are literally just going in circles. This is what's causing so many people to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, just going in circles, right? And I think it was Einstein that said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Right? Right? So that's why I love this analogy, because as I mentioned, you look at like Freudian psychology, he talks about like the iceberg, right? It's like everything going on below the surface is what's really guiding your life. 95% of your reality, let me say it again, 95% of your reality is your unconscious mind. Your cute little ego is that 5% on top, and it wants to think it's in control, but it's really that 95% that's deep below the surface. So how do we shift this? And we're gonna go deeper into this when I do my presentation here in a moment in PowerPoint. I'm going to talk about what's called the addiction cycle. It just keeps you going in circles and circles and circles. So the key thing, as I mentioned with what Darren started us out with, a meditation and calming us down, we have to get this body of water calm enough, right? And this has a lot to do with your nervous system too, so that we can see below the surface. What is the image in the subconscious mind? And when we get ourselves really deeply calm, we can create this connection to our heart space. One of the things I'm going to say later is the center of the word heart is ear. Can you listen to your heart? The center of the word heart is ear. Can you listen to your heart? As I mentioned, my father was a sound mixer. My father was a great listener. And he always told me the center of the word heart. If you take two ears and put them together, they look like a heart. Okay? So we start to work with what is the image here. And then as we get really deep in that space of deep meditation, grounding ourselves, right? Like Darren was talking about, the root of people's suffering. We have to get to those roots. We start to sift deep in the unconscious, and we find that core emotion, that core wound. We're able to work with it, begin to integrate our shadow, which I'm going to talk about very deeply here in a few moments. We're able to pull that anchor back up on board or cut it off and just release it. And now we shift this current of the subconscious mind. And you guys understand that that's why the teachings that Darren and I are doing are so powerful. You will literally accomplish your goals with a fraction of the effort. You will accomplish your goals with a fraction of the effort. And if you disagree with that, that's just your ego identified with your past. Like, but that's not true. My past. It's like, you stuck in the past, bro? You still going in circles? So I'm going to share with you guys as I get into my PowerPoint here. So I want to be clear. Does this make sense to you guys? Thumbs up. Give me a 1 if that made sense. Drop a little 1 in the chat box. We'll make sure you guys are. Yeah, admit. Yeah, I like the wordplay. Thank you, Sonia. Okay, so I want to make sure this is clear. I'm going to refer back to this. Yes, your subconscious becomes your team. Carol, thank you. That's exactly what we're going to get into, because this can all shift when you do your inner work. Absolutely. So one final time here is, as you do this work, you have the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. And as you begin to work with these different energies, eventually over time, you can tap into what's called super consciousness, is when you're connecting with your highest self. There's a lot of what like Darren talks about with his book, Awakening the Avatar, but you have to do that work deep within yourself first. All right, so let's get into my PowerPoint. Quick sip of my drink. If you can't tell, I love teaching this stuff to you guys. It's absolutely, I just love, one of my favorite parts about doing healing work and shadow work is what I like to call is working with the Shen, bringing that light back in people's eyes. And just a quick check-in, I'm just curious while I move some things around here, where would you say you are on your shadow work journey on a scale of 1 to 10? Like 1, you're just getting started. A 10, you've gone through multiple dark nights of the soul and you're feeling pretty awakened. So where are you on your shadow work journey? Are you just getting started? Is a 1? Where have you like done your shadow work and you're working through dark nights of the soul? Oh, cool. Excellent. 15, Sonia. I love it. Like 1,000. I've healed all my shadows. Okay, good stuff, you guys. All right, so I'm going to pull up my little PowerPoint presentation here. We're going to go a little bit deeper, but I'm going to be referring back to those pictures because I just love showing off my artistry skills. Okay, Lee Hubbard, 1. All right, so let me share my screen. All right, can you guys see my screen? Yes? Thumbs up, anybody? Darren, can you see my screen? All right, let's get into it.
We can see it, but we're also seeing all the slides on the side. So you need to like launch the slideshow. Yeah, there, that's better. There you go.
All right. You can see it? It's good?
Yeah, now, perfect.
All right, beautiful. So,
Roger.
Excellent. And then I can't see the chat box, so Darren, keep an eye on that for me. All right, so let's do it. So Shadow Awakening. So as Darren mentioned, I published this amazing book. It's been about 3 years since I published it. I got to be honest with you guys, like writing a book, the coolest part of writing this book is that I published it and I started getting people sending me selfies from all over the world and people telling me how my book saved their marriage or help people to heal their emotional pain. Like one of my favorite things is help people with addiction. I've helped many people get off of drugs by doing this work. So it's just like such a blessing. I'd wake up in the morning and get like selfies from people in Ireland. I'm like crying tears of happiness or like, oh my God, this helped so many people's lives. So this presentation is, I took a bunch of slides from my Shadow Awakening Master course and we're just going to dive right into it. And essentially what this comes down to is the dawn of human potential, and really about waking up our truest potential through shadow work. As I mentioned, in order to grow the branches, we have to grow the roots. So that's essentially what we're doing here. And let's get into this. So one of my favorite quotes, shout out to Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that's why I started with that analogy of the boat, because literally it's like you're stuck, you're anchored to this identity and you're just going in circles. And some healers and coaches are stuck in that cycle too. So until you make those unconscious anchors conscious, you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's going to drive you completely nuts. Now, what is shadow work? Some of you guys gave me some good definitions, but let's break this down. It's when we make the unconscious conscious, repressed aspects of ourselves that we have buried into the shadow or unconscious mind. Okay. Our ego, this is a key point here, you guys. Our ego creates barriers to protect us, but these barriers cast a shadow our ego doesn't want us to see. And this unconscious trauma and behaviors actually run our lives. They actually run our lives. So when you do this work, you start to identify, like I said, where are you anchored? What emotions are really stuck deep within your psyche? And a key part here, we're going to get into more on the next slide too, is recognizing triggers. That's a big point. What's triggering you? Okay. What limiting beliefs do you have? What is your inner critic doing? And mind chatter that's sabotaging you and keeping you stuck in old ways of being. Okay. Old ways of being. It all comes down to your identity. All change happens at the identity level of your consciousness. If you're taking notes, definitely write that down. Now, the greatest version of self is hidden in the darkness. And this is where shadow work allows you to fully love all aspects of yourself. Now, what I mean by that, if you're suppressing your anger, your guilt, your shame, your sadness, I'll use an example here that I've used many times when I'm explaining shadow work, is imagine you're a little boy, you're a little girl, and you want to be loved by your parents. You're like this young, beautiful, blessed little child, and you're like, oh, mom, love me, dad, love me, and then you get shamed. Just an example. Like, I want to be loved, and you're shamed. I want to be loved, and you're shamed. So somewhere in your unconscious, you start to identify love with shame. Remember, it's an identity. So love and shame. And then here you are as an adult, and you're out here trying to date, and your unconscious goes, oh, I need to be shamed to be loved. And so you keep attracting people who shame you. You're like, why do I keep getting shamed? Why does this keep happening to me? And so until you actually slow down enough to identify the essences, and that's a very powerful word here, is the essences deep within the unconscious, you're going to keep attracting the same experiences, the same stuff, and you're going to keep driving yourself insane. Remember, the doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity. So as you slow down enough and learn to embody these essences, that's when the biggest shift occurs. Okay. Now, let's go a little bit deeper into this. So the inner critic and limiting beliefs. And like I said, this is like, I'm taking like 8 different slideshows and condensing them into this one presentation for you guys today. If you want more support, please reach out. Now, the inner critic or voice that plays like a broken record in the back of our minds, and it's controlling us. Now, here's a great little tip for you guys. I tell this to everybody, and I still do this sometimes too. So imagine you're going about your day, and all of a sudden this voice in the back of your head says, you're not good enough. You hear it like whisper, right? You're like, your feelings aren't valid, right? Like you're a victim. So what I tell people to do, right, this is a super powerful little nugget to support you guys, right? We're teaching master tools for healing, is imagine when that voice comes up, this is just an analogy. Imagine a flashlight in your hand and you turn around and you point it in the face of your shadow, like almost like a police officer. And you say to your shadow, what do you need? What do you want? How can I love you? So when that voice comes up in the back of your head, the limiting belief comes up. Let's give you some examples of limiting beliefs. I already mentioned a few. I'll never be good enough. I'm not worthy of being loved. I'm stupid. My feelings aren't valid. I'm ugly. Money doesn't grab money. Money. I actually have a money shadow workshop too, you guys. I'm a victim. So what you do is when these energies come up, like I said, you imagine shining a flashlight. What do you need? What do you want? Because that's the part of yourself that needs the deepest healing. That right there is super powerful. So and that still happens to me. Like I've done a lot of work, but every once in a while, I'm like, where did that voice come from? Who said that? Like, oh, that's me. And then you start to face that part of yourself, and that's where the real healing occurs. Instead of suppressing those parts of yourself, that inner critic and those limiting beliefs, you love those parts of yourself. And that right there, what I just said, truly is priceless, because you're facing those anchors instead of being stuck and just going in circles over and over and over again. Now, a lot of this comes down to our past traumas from childhood, or even this is a big one, you guys. I do a lot of work around this, like healing generational pain, okay? Is beliefs passed down from generations. They show up and they dictate our lives from our shadow and unconscious mind. They dictate our lives from our shadow and our unconscious. So just like I said, the first quote, until you make the unconscious conscious, your shadow is going to keep running your life, okay? So how do we approach the shadow? Okay, like I said, these are just like some gold nuggets from some of my presentations and teachings. But the first step, you guys, like we really have to slow ourselves down and be as gentle as possible, because you are healing your relationship with the most wounded aspects of yourself. Like this is the deepest work you could possibly do. And I always tell people, and whenever I get on calls, some of my clients are on this call, I always am checking in. How's your self-care? How's your self-care? You really need to focus on your basic fundamental needs. So quality food, making sure you're getting plenty of water, making sure that you're breathing, staying grounded, and getting quality rest. Sometimes, like often most times, you really have to slow down, especially in our overstimulating world. And the more you can slow down, just like we were talking about with the boat analogy, as the water becomes calm, and your body is made of water, interesting, right? As the water becomes calm, you can see below the surface. You can see a reflection of yourself. Anybody been to a lake first thing in the morning, you see it's just like glass? It's like a mirror. You're going to see a new version of yourself when you calm yourself down, right? And one of the things that Darren really helped me out with, he's like, Ody, you're really good at teaching all this stuff, but it's really about the embodiment practices. So like, I can sit here, all the stuff I'm teaching you is really good, but it really comes down to you regulating your nervous system, calming down this body of water. And that gives you the clarity to figure out the root cause or core conflict that is really limiting you from getting the results that you're seeking. Because that's essentially what we're doing here. We're seeking the innermost deep conflict. And this is a key point, you guys, a place where you may be having an argument with yourself deep within you. It's like, why is my life shifting? Because deep within yourself, there's still this story of like your mother or your father, and you're still fighting with that image deep within yourself. So this is like the slower we can go. And this is like the hardest part for most people. Slow down. I've got to keep going. And we're so stimulated. So like a big key part of this, and like for myself, like meditating at least 30 minutes to an hour every day. You know, you got to practice what I preach. And another key point here is to understand that whatever fear you have, may be a distraction from you not looking at the real thing holding you back. So what can happen is like your shadow will be like, no, look over here. Don't look at this thing. Look over here. Look at this shiny object. And you're not getting to the root. So this is the part where like the more we can slow ourselves down, the more we can identify those essences. That's the key point here, identifying the essences. And that comes down to like Taoist alchemy too. What is the essence that's really going to create that shift for you? Now, another way of looking at this, and I always like to say, I want to attack from different angles to make sure we're getting really clear about what is the best way for you to get into these energies. Now, essentially, we're talking about uncharted territory. Like when we talk about those anchors, when you're getting deep into those spaces, it's not so much logical. And navigating the shadow world is like traveling without a map in darkness. You have to feel your way in there. And that's the part that's difficult for people because we have a very masculine reality, very yang energy, very controlling energy. And so we have to calm down the need to control everything, which is like a lot of like fire energy, and really be more in that water energy, like we talked about with the body. And the more we're in that space, we can feel into those essences to identify where the key shifts need to occur so we can transcend duality, right? So we're not stuck operating as a particle and we can move into that wave. That's why we talked about that first. Now, this is an extremely powerful point. If you're taking notes, write this down because this like blew my mind. Some of your positive traits may be your shadow hiding right in front of you. Some of you on this call are highly empathic. Actually, I'm sure a lot of you on this call are highly empathic. Put a 1 in the chat box if you're highly empathic. So all the ones pop up. Are you highly empathic? Because what happens is I've found with people who are highly empathic, often they're people pleasers. Darren mentioned this earlier. You're taking care of everybody else and you're neglecting yourself. And like as Darren mentioned, I helped a lot of women get really healthy and fit running my gyms, helping them lose weight. But what happens is for sometimes healers, you're taking care of everybody else. Like this is a positive trait. I'm taking care of everybody, taking care of everybody, taking care of everybody. But you're not taking care of yourself. So what you may call a positive trait may be your shadow hiding right in front of you. So sometimes our positive traits is actually something we need to examine. So there's a dark shadow. There's also a light shadow. Like some of you who are on this call, like maybe you see some people on social media and like you emulate them. I want to be like them, but they're actually your light shadow. So you can actually learn from them. There's like, oh, there's the darkness and there's also the light to these aspects. Now, a key point here is you have to let go of what you think you know and allow your inner voice to guide you to feel into the wounded aspects of yourself. Okay. You have to feel into those spaces. And this is the part where it's like training the nervous system. The word allow is very important. We have to allow ourselves to drop into that energetic space so we can get to the root cause or core conflict. One of the things that I mentioned in my book is you want to find a thread. Oh, there's this emotion. And you start pulling that thread till you get to that core wound that's actually holding you back. Like for me on my shadow work journey, I realized I had all this anger. As I began to work at the anger, that was like the top thread. And I started pulling that thread and I got into this fear. And as I began to work at the fear, I got to the root, which was my abandonment wound. And that made the biggest shift for me. So oftentimes there's different layers to this. It's like an onion. You peel back one layer, and there's another layer there. But this is the part where you have to feel and then feel and then feel, and then you can heal. You have to feel it to heal it. That's what one of the most important things that Darren taught me. So as I mentioned, this is where the more we can slow down, it's vital because you're not going to heal it unless you feel it. Okay. So that's why these embodiment practices are so crucial, because otherwise you're going to be stuck in that vicious cycle, just going in circles. Now, let's go a little bit deeper into that and what that means. This is one of my favorite concepts that helps people to understand the addiction cycle. So you guys remember, we talked about that boat and that boat just going in circles, okay? And I love sharing this because, you know, a lot of my work, people join my academy or they do their shadow work.
Of course, yeah.
Make sure you're on mute, please. There we go. So there we go. Got you on mute. It's all good. All right. So the addiction cycle. So what happens is when people are on this addiction cycle, this is like, if you're taking notes, definitely write this down. This is absolute gold right here. So there's a trigger, there's a stimulus, okay? Maybe your boss, maybe like your aunt, your uncle, or somebody says something, you see something on TV, whatever it is, it creates a stimulus. And this is a trigger, okay? And that's a key thing on this process, identifying what triggers you. That trigger creates a meaning. That's the logic. That's the masculine mind, the yang energy, right? So this comes back to like the limiting beliefs. I'm not worthy of love. My feelings aren't valid. Money doesn't grow on trees. I'm a victim. So the key thing here, and this is a big part of why we slow down, so we can identify the meaning that we're creating when we are triggered. Let me say that again. We have to identify the meaning that we're creating when we're triggered. Now, as we identify the meanings, right, then we begin to shift our emotional state. So we're actually working with what's called the bicameral mind. Camera means chamber. So there's two chambers to the brain, the left and the right hemispheres. So the meaning is the logical, right? And that's the left brain. And the emotion, the feeling is the right brain. We want those two hemispheres working together. It's actually has a lot to do with this as well. We're bringing the left and right hemispheres, the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang, bringing them together. Because what often happens, you guys, is people, they get triggered. They create meaning, there's an emotion, and this creates a behavior, and they get stuck in this vicious cycle where they're just going in circles, doing the same thing over and over and over again, not making a change. Now, what often happens in this place, and this comes back to the point that I'm selling you guys on, is the importance of slowing down. Because people are so unconscious. Let me say it again. They are so unconscious that they get triggered and they go right back to the same emotion. They go right back to the same emotion. And so it's just trigger, emotion, behavior, and they're just stuck. They're using drugs, alcohol, porn, video games, TV, anything to numb themselves from that core emotion. So when we slow ourselves down, begin to identify the meaning, as we start to identify the meaning, we can change our emotional state. When we change our emotional state, this is a key point, you guys, you change your hormonal state. And when you change your hormonal state, everything shifts, because that's when your behaviors change. It's like years ago, I was a fitness coach. People come to me like they want to lose weight, they want to get in shape. And I'd show them how to change their diet. I show them how to do certain exercises. But if they still had a core emotion, they were still going to find ways to sabotage themselves. So that's why this is so crucial. Figure out what's triggering you. Create new meaning. See that how your emotions begin to shift as the meaning shifts, and notice how your behaviors change. I recommend you taking a screenshot of this right here, because this is one of the most powerful points that I teach. But let's keep going. All right. So what happens is, anybody here ever read the book, The Body Keeps the Score? Put a 1 in the chat box. Have you read the book, The Body Keeps the Score? One of my favorite books. I actually have a presentation in my academy because it's so good. Because what happens is your body's always keeping the score, right? So unconscious somatic trauma, unprocessed trauma gets stored in our physiology. One of my favorite sayings in the coaching space is the issues are in the tissues. The issues are in the tissues. So muscles are a memory bank, and our nervous system keeps us hardwired to external stimulus and triggers. Coming back to what I shared on the last slide, those triggers keep us hardwired. So I can a lot of people they're finding who can I find to project my anger onto today so I don't have to face it within myself. So you're walking around oh, this person's making me angry. That person's making me angry, but I can't face the anger within myself. But it's held within your physiology. The issues are in the tissues, right? So as we slow down, we can begin to identify those essences. Because when the shadow is running the show, we could be neurologically, unconsciously addicted to our own suffering and habits. I'll say that again. When the shadow is running the show, we could be neurologically, unconsciously addicted to our own suffering and habits. Isn't that wild, you guys? People are addicted to their own suffering, but they're not even conscious of it. That's why shadow work is arguably one of the greatest tools that you can use on your healing process. And my whole vision for teaching this, you guys, is to teach as many people how to do this work so they can integrate it and then share that with other people. Now, what happens is, this is just an example. Like I said, I'm taking multiple slideshows and just boiling it down to this presentation for you guys, is that repressed aggression can lead to anger, to rage, and hatred. And the key thing is understanding how to integrate it. So the first step here is accepting the existence of the shadow. Accepting, oh, I have these suppressed aspects of myself. And then finding out the qualities and intentions, kind of like that analogy of shining the flashlight into the face of your shadow. And then you begin negotiating with your shadow. Now, essentially what this comes down to is, I always like to say, and this is written in my book, there's 3 stages to shadow work. There's shadow work, which is identifying and recognizing that you have a shadow. Then there's shadow integration. It's the integration process of bringing those suppressed emotions back into the light. And finally, shadow awakening, when you finally awaken to your potential because you're no longer suppressing parts of yourself. It's like why aren't people happy? Like, you're suppressing parts of yourself. Why would you truly be happy? Because you're not fully whole. And that's the essence of the word to heal. Now, what does your shadow need to heal? This comes back to the point about your heart. Remember, the center of the word heart is ear. And so as we slow down and then slow down and then slow down, we can tune in to our heart and listen to what it really needs. And this is what initiating the healing process looks like, but more importantly, what it feels like, because we have to feel it to heal it. That's one of the most important things that Darren has taught me, and I've blended into my shadow work. So we've begun our shadow work journey. It's like, I have a shadow. I have these suppressed emotions. So what is shadow integration, and how does it differ from shadow work? So shadow work is the beginning process of sifting the darkness or unconscious to find repressed aspects of ourselves and our psyche. And for those that don't know, psyche actually means soul in Greek. So we are working with our soul. Shadow work is soul work. Shadow integration, the difference between shadow work and shadow integration is when you've begun to integrate these repressed aspects of yourself back into your psychology and heal your emotions. Okay. And that gets you off that vicious cycle, just spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. So here's some simple tools to start integrating. Okay. We got a few more slides to go, you guys. So center yourself. One of the things that Darren taught me is doing central channel breathing, just learning to collapse my energy field into the present moment. Okay. So use breath work to calm yourself down. Become cognizant of that inner voice. As I mentioned, you got to listen to your heart. Cultivate self-compassion. You have to be able to transmute these lower level emotions. This is the essence of alchemy, is transmutation. Another great word that I love in alchemy is called enatiotremia, when something changes into its opposite. Enatiotremia, when something changes into its opposite. It comes from that book, Watiko, that Darren was mentioning earlier. We should talk more about that too. But this self-compassion, we transmute our anger, our guilt, our shame, our fear, our rage, and our grief. And those are lower level emotions. And as Darren said, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. Dr. David Hawkins talks about this. These lower level emotions, they're very dense, and they keep us stuck in this linear level of consciousness versus higher level emotions, which are like bliss, gratitude, and abundance. That's where, boom, you really move into that transmutation process. They transform and they mutate. And I always say the beginning process of shadow work is the same in the end. It's about self-awareness, checking in with the body, spending time in nature, or shall I say, investing time in nature. Darren and I like to go on regular hikes together. Grounding yourself and having a regular meditation practice, where just like how we started, calling in that energy blast and really tuning back into your heart space and into your body. Being truthful. This is actually a thing that a lot of people struggle with. You have to be honest about uncomfortable subjects, uncomfortable feelings, and stories that have been holding you back internally. That's often very difficult. And that's where I say, get some support, become part of a community. Darren and I have this beautiful community here that can support you. And as we mentioned, we'll be holding a retreat in December where you can be immersed with other healers doing this deep inner work. And it makes it easier when you are seen going through this process. Breath work helps to release your emotions and tap into the shadow. One of my other mentors who wrote the book called The Healer's Process, I'll flash some of you guys real quick. This other shaman that I worked with, she told me that she always starts with the metal element, which is the lungs. It has to do with the air. So we want to use our breath to help move emotional energy. That metal element is very powerful. And of course, journaling. Keep a record of your progress and go deeper and track what's coming up for you. You can see how you've shifted and how you've grown. So a few more slides to go. Now, what is not integrating the shadow? This is really important. This is where a lot of people are at. You could be unconsciously, let me say it again, unconsciously sabotaging yourself and not even be aware that you're doing it. You're not even aware that you're sabotaging yourself because you're so identified and stuck in that addiction cycle. You're repressing aspects of yourself is what creates our internal demons. And to be clear, what I mean by internal demons, the more you suppress those emotions, the bigger they get in the unconscious. And those are essentially our internal demons. You won't recognize your conditioning, your resistance, and your programming, and of course, your triggers, as I mentioned with that cycle. This affects money, relationships, addictions, career, and your health on all levels. You'll be stuck in old habits, ways of being, and thought patterns. And this is what drives people completely nuts. And there's nothing essentially bad about this, but it's really the question is, are you ready to integrate and heal these parts of yourself? That's the real question. Are you ready? Now, shadow projections. Okay. Well, upon integrating the shadow, this is like where the gold is, you guys. This is where the real alchemy happens, when we start to recognize where we're projecting our shadow, but ultimately when people are projecting their shadow onto us. Now, upon integrating the shadow, like I'm giving this like a fast explanation of all this. This takes time and effort, okay? Really slowing down. You begin recognizing your inner critic as a friend rather than a foe, okay? That voice in the back of the head, so powerful. And it becomes your guide rather than your saboteur. So instead of that voice saying, you're not good enough, it says, you are good enough. You are worthy. And that was when you realize you have begun that process of integration and then shadow awakening. Okay, you're awakening to your potential. Now, cognitive awareness of when you are projecting your shadow onto others, and eventually you will recognize when other people are projecting their shadow onto you. And this, you guys, is absolute gold because you won't be as triggered by other people. Okay. This is what happens. This is not even my opinion, just from years of studying shadow work, is that some of you guys are probably already recognizing this. People will unconsciously relive their childhood traumas through you and make you an actor in the scenario or drama. Many of you have probably experienced this in past relationships. I have too. I remember when I was in my 20s, I would be dating. I'm like, why is this person treating me this way? It's like, this isn't who they are, because it was a repressed aspect of themselves. So that right there, you guys, like, if you're taking notes, absolute gold. You have to go through this process of shadow work and integrate your shadow. You know, Janet says this is happening in the US right now. Yes, that's the collective Watiko, the psycho-spiritual mind virus. Yes, and that's why, Janet, this is so important that we teach. This is bigger to me than just like, oh, I'm going to be a shadow work coach. This is one of the most valuable tools that we can use, right? Because so many people are living with their wounded inner child running their life. You could even look at some of the leaders in the world. Their wounded inner child is running the world, right? So this is a very powerful point. We must be conscious of our own shadow before we can see it in others. And that is an awakened shadow. And like I teach this stuff, you guys, I'm still working on my stuff. I still get triggered. I'm still working through my own stuff. But I'm like, oh, this is really triggering for me. Instead of projecting, I get curious. There's an opportunity for me to grow, right? So almost done here, you guys. Now, the awakened shadow. What does it feel like? What does it feel like to have an awakened shadow? Your inner critic, as I mentioned, becomes your friend, provides guidance rather than sabotaging you. A clearer future based on what is, rather than fighting and avoiding what was and no longer serves you. You're not stuck in the past. You're not anchored into these past beliefs and stories and this identity that isn't serving you. Loving deeply all aspects of yourself, even the aspects that have been repressed or suppressed for years. This is like magic, you guys. Like the feeling when you've accomplished this, and I've seen it happen with so many people going through my program, like the peace. Like I said, you see the fire, the shen come back into people's eyes. They feel safe in their bodies, like absolutely priceless. And I always like to say the journey begins and ends with your self-discovery of who you truly are. So let's do a little review. There are 3 stages to shadow work. There's shadow work, identifying you have a shadow integration, integrating those suppressed aspects of yourself, your emotions, and then there's awakening. And when you've truly identified those essences, you integrate them into your psyche, and now you feel whole and complete. And this is an ongoing process, you guys. You do your shadow work, and it's a tool that you carry with you for the rest of your life. The greatest medicine is in discovering deeper intimacy with the wounded aspects of the self and identifying triggers that lead to sabotaging behaviors. Like I said, that spiral, you're either spiraling downwards or you're spiraling upwards, depending on where you're at in your consciousness. Be honest. This is tough for some people, being honest about difficult topics and being gentle with yourself on the healing journey. One of my favorite parts of my book is the path is the medicine. The path is the medicine, one step at a time. This is not an easy path, you guys. You can't be a light worker unless you're a shadow worker, okay? So the path is the medicine. For taking notes, write that down. And eventually, I love this, you guys. It's so powerful. So many people who go through my program and do this work, You recognize other people projecting their shadow onto you. This saves you so many relationships with family, with friends. Some of you guys, some of us, our parents, they're not doing their shadow work. I love my, like, I'm not talking about my parents, like, but like some of us, our parents aren't going to do the shadow work. So you have to do it. And it helps you maintain a positive relationship with the people that you love. And that is, like I said, truly priceless. And a fully integrated shadow means a healthy psychological nature and alignment with our higher self and soul purpose in life. And that word embodiment, that's what this is all about. Our retreat coming up in December is called the Healing Embodiment Retreat because it's about her. It's about connecting with Mother Earth. It's about connecting with the Tao and reconnecting with our essence, which can only be found within us in our connection to Mother Earth. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Check out my book, Shadow Awakening, available on Amazon. I also have a video course you can check out at alchemyhealingacademy.com, The Dawn of Human Potential. The book right now is 42 5-star, perfect rating. Oh, yeah, baby. Woo, woo. So if you have got my book, please do a review. I'd really appreciate that. And feel free to reach out to me. There's my phone number down there, or check out my website. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, I love teaching this stuff because it truly is extremely powerful when people do this work, because it literally changes your entire life. So let me stop the share here. There we go. There it is. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to pass the mic back to Darren. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, everybody. As I mentioned, I love teaching this stuff, but ultimately it comes down to each one of us doing the work and then sharing this wisdom with the people that we love. So thank you so much for allowing me to share that with you guys. If you have any more questions or comments, please feel free to reach out. I'm going to pass the lightsaber back to Darren. And there we go, boss.
Wow, that was really great. Like the energy that you bring through, and you're really living this. It shows. You ain't just talking, you live in it.
Thank you.
By the way, I'm wondering, so does anybody have any other questions or feedback for Odysseus about some of those? He just went over such really powerful, things. This is so profound, and not only just on a one-to-one basis, but somebody mentioned what's going on in the United States right now. If we just look at what's happening in the news every day, we're seeing the shadow, we're seeing the Wetiko, we're seeing it playing out. And it's calling for us to do our own shadow work. Like instead of just pointing fingers, it's pointing us to do this. And Odysseus, you really mapped it out beautifully.
Well, let's touch on that just for a moment, the Wetiko, because we talked about it. I want to make sure people are clear on what that means. So Wetiko, this guy, Paul Levy, wrote 3 books, and I'll just touch on, like I said, just briefly. So Wetiko, he actually talks a lot about shadow work. What is Wetiko? Anybody know what Wetiko is? So Wetiko is the psycho-spiritual mind virus. Essentially, when Western settlers came to the United States, the American Indians saw these settlers, and they were killing all the animals and building all these houses, and they couldn't own enough stuff. And the American Indians who were living in connection with the Tao and Mother Earth, they're like, what is wrong with these people? They have a psycho-spiritual mind virus, and it was called Wetiko. It's basically the ego virus. And if you look at the world, this is not just my opinion, but based on, this is such a great book, by the way. I know Darren's been reading it too, is that we are hitting peak Wetiko, ego worship in the world. That's why we have billionaires and homeless people, because there's such an imbalance. There's so much polarity. There's such a distance. But the key thing that's not a bad thing. And he goes very clear into the book that Wetiko actually offers us a gift. If enough people do their shadow work, we can shift the consciousness. This comes back to what Darren was talking about. We do our quantum healing, heal our energetic body. We do our shadow work and integrate those suppressed emotions, and we can shift the entire consciousness if enough people are doing the work, right? And that comes back to the collective consciousness of humanity. So that to me is the bigger why that we're doing this work. I'll put the title and author in the chat box. But that's essentially what Wetiko is, the psycho-spiritual mind virus that's ruling the world. And the more you read these books, you're like, oh my God, it's so on point. But the key thing is the darkness does reveal the light. And the more of us that actually do the work, the more of us come together in community, just like we are here, the more we can shift the consciousness, because it all comes down to that word, enatiotremia, when one thing turns into its opposite. So the more we go into that darkness and we find the light, we can shift the entire consciousness into an entirely new reality. And that is why we're here. So that's my little Wetiko.
Okay. Yeah. That's a very short capsulized version. So I suggest that you just take a very brief break right now. Let me just say where we are in the webinar. We have 1 more hour of this webinar, and we're going to do a group healing, a really beautiful, rich, with all these things we're talking about, bring it into total experience. And so just take a few moments to stretch. If you need to go to the restroom, get some water. We'll come back in just like 5 or 6 minutes, okay? Please make sure you stay to the end. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're going to get started again. Um, yes, Janet, if you stay to the end, I will go over a method of self-kinesiology. I use it all the time, so I'm happy to shift it. May have to go a little bit over for that. Anyway, again, because we're here with all this electronic stimulation, all these beautiful people, again, we'd love it if you would share your webcam so we can see each other in community. It's a very precious and powerful thing to do that. Even if you're in your bathrobe or pajamas, we don't care. We're family here. Uh, Anyway, let's just, with all this electronic stimulation, let's go back through the foundational practices. We don't need to clear the space, that's fine, but just call your energy back in your body. Just take another big breath in, and just any energy that's been going out to Odysseus's brilliant presentation and his handsome face and all these beautiful people, just call it back into your own body. And then breathe out down into the earth. I'm not sure what that was. Hmm. See, something odd just happened with the screen. I got to kind of fix here. Excuse me, there's something weird happened with the Zoom. Odysseus, you know what happened?
I think just click stop share.
Okay, stop share. Let's try that. Okay, there it goes. I don't know what happened, but anyway, we're good again here. All right. So anyway, see, that's what happens. You have to really call your energy in for this, and don't we? So let's do it again. Call your energy in, back into your body. Just sense that vibration in your own body. The Taoists have known since ancient time that the entire universe is inside of your body. I mean, just take that in a moment, especially in your abdominal area. Like, just put your hands over your lower abdomen. Breathe into that area. Feel that your connection going down to the Earth star underneath your feet and the earth, heaven above you, that you're the marriage of heaven and earth. You're married whether you realize it or not. The marriage of heaven and earth. And that this embodied state is what allows us to be happy in the midst of a crazy world and allows us to actually be in our power, allows us to be quantum healers and have a heck of a lot of fun. By the way, do you know why quantum healers never play hide and seek? Well, it's because the moment they intend to hide, they're already found in all possible places. And one thing about quantum healing is that this is really interesting, is that it's the only profession where somebody can say, take a deep breath and visualize an orb of light above your head. And it's considered to be a treatment plan. It's one of the only ones where you could do that, right? Well, anyway, what we're going to do now is talk a little bit about this retreat that was coming up, and also a course that I have that's called the Quantum Master Healer Program, just for about 10 minutes or so. And then we're going to go into this final group event, the group healing. So Ody's already mentioned about this retreat coming up. I want to give you some details about it. And there's two things that we actually have to offer you. If what you've heard here really touches you, there's two things you can do. You can take what you're learning here from us today, a lot of great, like, nuggets of information, some methods, some techniques, and just use them. Just put them into practice with yourself, with your life, with your clients. And the other thing you can do is, if you want to go further and deeper with this, and if you'd like to really be part of this community on an ongoing basis, where you get the support and the sense of community, the sense of deep trust that happens, what I call the group body. That's a term that I made up because in some of the recent master courses I've had where people work together over a 4-month period, it feels like something grows in that group, even within the first few weeks. that's beyond any one individual person. It's like this field of love and safety and light that you can tap into 24/7 and long after the course is over, plus a lot of great friendships with people. So the other thing that I'm offering is that starting in this month, or starting in October, it's a 4-month program called the Avatar Master Healer Program. And it's something that I'll go through the details of that as well. So in order to share about these, what I want to do is go back to my PowerPoint for a moment. Hold on a moment here. There we go. Okay, here we are. Hide presenter view. Okay, there it is. You should be able to see this. Does that look good, Ody?
Looks good now.
Okay, good. So
Just real quick, Darren, I'm sharing in the chat box the link to the retreat if people want more details.
thank you, thank you. Yes. And also, you're going to get an email that'll come to you around the end of the time of this webinar that'll have the links for the retreat and the program and some other things. And I will actually send a recording of this whole event out, certainly by tomorrow at the latest. So quantum healing, again, is developing a trusting, deeply intuitive relationship with the divine. And Sarah Stillman is a woman who's been to one of our retreats, just came last December. She's worked with me, and she's our current program too. Acupuncturist from Colorado. And I want to share, this is about a 2.5-minute video where she talked about the shift that she went through. It's very spontaneous.
My name is Sarah Stillman. I live in Colorado, and I'm an acupuncturist and intuitive energy healer. This sense that there is not actually the limitation of what most humans think there is of, we have this one life and that's all there is. But I was able to see beyond that and see that the scope of this one life is really so small through the bigger picture of things. And all of the things that we experience in this lifetime are likely actually created or divined by our spirit to become things that we learn from, all in with the goal of evolution of our spirit in this one tiny lifetime. But there's so much beyond that. And that consciousness is so much bigger than what I had ever thought possible.
And was there like one particular experience that put you into that awareness?
It was the retreat, is that I just had this glimpse of how there's so much more than I ever thought possible.
Yeah. Okay.
And that most people aren't aware of that. I mean, I think it was my own self-doubt. And these are the things that we really worked with, that I was really working with on the retreat, is having a lack of confidence and a real doubt in my abilities and my potential and my self-worth.
That's the retreat was very significant for you. Wow.
Yes, Darren.
Yeah.
It changed my life. I mean, that's what I do in my treatments with people now. I guide them through meditations and do chakra work and lots of stuff that you have taught me, so that they can feel that and sense their self-worth and their light and themselves as a spirit.
And then this is a woman who was at our retreat. That was the last time we were at Land of Medicine Buddha, where we're going to be again in early December, named Paula. And this is another brief thing we're trying to capture an experience that's very hard to put into words. So these are kind of going in that direction.
Okay, my name is Paula Hansen. I'm a graphic artist. I found Darren through the book, Awakening the Avatar, and then I was moved to just Google him, and I found that he lived in my town, and I was like, okay. So I came to the class, and I remember telling Darren, I'm sorry, but I don't think this is a good time for me to take the class. I'm in utter heartbreak. I'm stuck in despair. It's not going to work. I shouldn't do it now. And somehow or other, he convinced me to hang in. And I said, I basically said, if this works, if I get any value out of this, it's going to be a total and complete miracle. And he said, well, maybe there will be a miracle. And here I am at the retreat at the end, and I got everything I got my miracle. It was a huge miracle. And it was all about my longing, my lifelong longing to allow my essence self to be and what he calls your transmission. I have always felt my divine gifts, but they couldn't come out. And now in this place of absolute love and quantum magic, I'm finding this allowing that I can express. I can allow, and it just feels like the miracle that I've been asking my angels for since forever. And I was guided here, and it's beautiful. It's a blessing.
And Jackie was also at the last retreat we did, which was the last December up in Northern California. And she said this: I've broken down my walls and began to connect with others and live confidently in my power. I now feel I have easily accessible tools to work with clients and build the business I've been dreaming about. I feel confident in using the things I've learned to not only heal myself, but to empower others to heal themselves of physical, emotional, and spiritual issues. By the way, Jackie does is she's a body worker. She does myofascial stretch work. It's called the retreat itself was extremely healing and empowering. It allowed me to connect with virtual strangers and leave feeling as if we've known each other all our lives. I haven't experienced deep connections like that in decades. We had incredible breakthroughs. And we have so many of these things. I mean, most people who come to retreats say these kind of things. So anyway, just as a few pictures, there's Ody, me, and Karina, who's also going to be helping to lead the retreat that we're doing in December. And with great food, a lot of healing practices and a lot of meditation. We're going to spend a lot of time out in nature, Mother Nature permitting, because it's where the retreat is about 100 acres of incredible forest and like this Buddhist temple spread all over in the woods in different places. So we do a lot of things with nature. Pictures have vibrations, just to give you a sense of the sacred energy that we spend time in. This is called the Wish Fulfilling Temple. That's part of the Land of Medicine Buddha. Take a visit down to there, just walk down the path. And this is actually the place where we'll be meeting. It's called the Pine Room. It's just a gorgeous, big room, plenty of room to be there. And we do a lot of dancing on the breaks and a lot of things that are very fun when we're not doing, because the work is so intense that we're doing that we do a lot of things that are fun as well. And being out in nature. There's another retreat that I led a few years ago. This is the after. If I showed you the before, it wouldn't have looked like that. So I'm going to put this link up is that for people that are actually interested in this retreat or in the program, we ask you to have a phone consult with us so we can make sure it's a good fit. And so you would go to this link, www.talk2darren.com, and then you can get a place on my schedule where we'll talk. And it'll be a wonderful conversation, whether you work with us or not, because I always like share a mini reading, some quantum healing, and just have a really heartfelt conversation and see if there's that spark there that would make it appropriate for both of us to work together. So I'm going to close this down right now and now show you something more, much more details about the what, why, where, how of these events. Okay, here we go. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about the 4-month program that's starting very soon. And this is for people, I would say this would be especially appropriate if you're a practitioner. And I asked that earlier, like somebody who actually wants to develop these quantum healing skills and abilities and attunements so that you can hold the space of master healer. Because remember, like the mind may say this is this far off idealistic thing, but it's right here. It's already you. It's just the group community is so profound when you work deeply with a committed group of people over several months. The trust and the love and the connection and that feeling of divine energy really coalesces in the first, week or two, really. And then we work with each other one-to-one quite a bit in this group. And you actually learn these abilities, these skills. So let's take a look at this for a moment. So again, we're starting in October. It's going to go to the end of January. So the actual things that we do in this is removing obstacles and experiencing profound personal healing for yourself. Like some things that you felt you never could resolve, you're likely to be able to resolve it while you're in this program. Awaken your gifts with quantum healing methods you can use with your clients right away if you're somebody who works with clients, or if you want to. Maybe you're not a healer yet, but you want to go in that direction. You'll be supported in many practical ways in doing that. And then being in community, receiving support and inspiration from a circle of awakening peers. And most people who do this tell me their income increases because they're just getting such amazing results. I mean, that's what people want to pay for. It's Jedi Knight training for the modern healer. Every step you take in your own awakening expands your effectiveness, and you'll take these steps with guidance, community, and the power of quantum methods. So this program consists of, I'm going to speak about this a few minutes and then go into the details of the retreat, is we have groups most weeks from early October through the end of January, and there's quite a few weeks off during the holidays. You get one-to-one sessions with me so that you have the full experience of all these arts and skills to help you move through whatever it is that your next step is, or what's blocking you, or where you feel stuck. And a series of those. So actually there's 5 of those private sessions with me included. And they're over an hour each. Then we have also, in addition to the main meeting we have, which is 2.25 hours of every week, which right now is taking place on Friday mornings. We also have another session, which is 30 minutes, called a quantum meditation. I know some of you already come to that, but that's also included in this, so that every week you're just focusing on meditation. There's also the retreat, which we're going to go into in a few moments, which is included in this program. And then there's various bonus programs. There's ones for developing your business, because I really believe that light workers should have successful businesses. We have as much right to have it as lawyers and politicians and other kinds of business owners. So there's courses for that if you're interested. And then there's other courses for extra help. And there's even one about a quantum series, Secrets of Relationships, that's included in this. And again, who's this for? Holistic practitioners and healers, conscious business owners, and leaders of many kinds who are led by their heart, or at least want to be. So I want someone to jump down here a moment and just show you like what actually happens. Okay, this is an important part. By whether it's the retreat or the program, and this program, of course, includes the retreat, is that you learn to tap into the quantum field as a day-to-day thing, not as some peak experience just when you're in a yoga class or an ayahuasca or something like that, but just as a day-to-day experience. Okay, and that happens to the people that take this program. And then you learn these tools, like all the stories we're telling you are specific methods that you can learn that are fairly simple. Working with the chakras, clearing that radiant energy field, like being a detective to find the hidden causes of disease and pain. Like some people have curses on them, and nobody ever tells them that. They get all these different treatments and doctors, and until that curse is cleared, they don't get better. They keep going through drama. Some people have ancestral burdens that they haven't recognized or come into terms with, and they keep thinking it's them, but it's actually, it may be one of your ancestors or something like that. There's many, many things like this that you learn how to identify and clear. It's sort of like a modern Hogwarts school, you might say. And then when you are working in this way, when you're serving in this way, you are a leader. Whether you have a big following or you just work with people one-to-one, you learn to be a leader in consciousness. And I feel like that's where we're being called to be, whatever your particular style is. You also, by this kind of work and the meditations we do, your higher sense perception wakes up. That would be your third eye, visual abilities, your ability to sense, to kind of to see things that are hidden behind appearances. That really, really opens up for you when you practice quantum healing, because you already have these abilities. You don't have to get them. It's just a matter of taking the layers of doubt and skepticism and being like a muggle, letting those go so that those gifts come out. Because I've told this many times, I grew up feeling like I had zero gifts as a intuitive gifts or third eye visions or anything. I always felt really jealous of people that talked about having those experiences, but now I have them just because I'm serving. It's like that's part of Iny when you come into right relationship and you're sharing your gifts. Like Paula in that video I showed you was talking about, she always had these gifts, but she couldn't bring them out. That's so common. And if you felt that, please mention that in the chat, because that's such a common thing. So you learn to bring them out, and then these higher abilities start coming online for you. There's a system of quantum chakra mastery, which is the key to clearing on that very profound source level that you'll find within even like a month of being in the course, you'll be doing it. You'll be doing it with other people. If you have clients, you can start sharing it with them. One woman named Shannon, who I worked with, was a great myofascial practitioner, Pilates instructor, dance instructor, did really good work, but she was still more or less in the muggle mindset of, working on the physical body. So for some reason, her soul guided her into my course. And within, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks of starting the course, she started seeing their clients in a different way, like seeing that they had trauma, seeing that they had blocked energy. And that she started offering some of them that were more open-minded, like a chakra clearing or trauma clearing. And people had results way different level than they had had before. She was still stretching their body and doing Pilates. But now in addition, they were having this quantum level of healing. So that's what happens. Whatever you're doing, it tends to be integrated into it. And I mentioned that as you clear your shadow, like a lot of the doubts and low self-worth, like I've struggled with that a lot in my life, low self-worth, poverty consciousness. Anyway, money starts coming to you more. It's just the way it is. And whatever you want to put out in the world, you learn how to connect with people. There's a system I call educational-based marketing. It's just simply marketing by sharing, not by trying to sell, but just sharing your gift, sharing your inspiration. And that's one of the things you'll get support in when you're in the 4-month program. So the other thing I want to go over, let's go over the retreat details now for a few moments. Okay, here, embodiment retreat. Okay. Okay, so again, Odysseus came up with this great name, Her, because I think we all are healing the feminine side within us and the masculine side. So even though we're two dudes teaching this, my beloved partner, Karina, is going to be there too, offering like support for women connecting with their goddess self and healing some of the wounds that women go through. And so I know us guys have a lot of healing of our own feminine side, which I've been doing a lot in my life. So again, December 4th through 8th, it's going to be at Land of Medicine Buddha, which is a really wonderful place near Santa Cruz, California. So we're saying this retreat's a sacred pause, a rare opportunity to lighten up and step up, to release old conditioning that's been dragging on you, and rewire your mind and body with the higher light now streaming onto our planet. Stepping away from the swirl of constant demands isn't a luxury, it's essential for renewal. This retreat offers you the reset your soul has been waiting for. So here's some of the things we work on at the retreat is inner healing and release of outdated patterns of the shadow self. Ody has some, what he just gave you, just scratched the surface. He'll be taking you through it as a total experience. And you see, the thing about a retreat is when you have 5 days and you don't have any other distractions, you don't have any other obligations or responsibilities, and we have you put your digital devices away as much as possible through that whole retreat so that you're just purely like really doing this experience fully. You go really deep in this. It's very different than just taking a class or something or a coaching session. It's a true reset. And I've experienced this over and over. That's why I love to offer this. You'll awaken master healer abilities. We actually do a lot of working on each other with quantum healing methods, and you don't need any previous experience. I mean, we do have ways to give you, to prepare you with some classes and videos so that you'll know some in advance. But there's some of these ones you can do just by what you'll learn there. Because it's more about presence. It's much more about who you're being than what you're doing. Consciousness activations, that's one of the things that happens. We call them quantum activations, is that it's not about learning things in your brain. Believe me, that's the smallest part of it. It's rewiring your body. It's actually having shifts happen epigenetically with your DNA and your light body becoming more activated. And then some of the shadow stuff comes up, and then we work with that. Then you activate your light body more, then more shadow stuff comes up. We work with it. It takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of love. That's what always happens with these retreats. Is we only attract people of very high integrity that people I'm sure you'd like to do this with. Also, there's a lot of time to rest, relax, and to be out in nature and do ceremonies out in nature. A lot of laughter. And then toward the end of the retreat, we'll have some things to help you envision what you're ready to express and manifest in the new year, 2026. Believe it or not, that's coming. And so rather than going into it with fear or uncertainty or just doing the same thing you've always done and hoping it keeps working, you can come up with a new empowered plan for what your soul really wants you to do and get really clear on that and actually start formulating some action steps for that before you leave the retreat. There's one last thing I want to say about it, just that, as I mentioned, I've been doing, my partner Karina and I are doing a lot of shamanic work, and I went to Peru to be with the shamans, and I've had very intensive experiences with this. And one thing I've realized is that in indigenous cultures, young people are brought through many rites of passage, and they have elaborate ceremonies, and they really honor these rites of passage, like moving from childhood to adolescence, or adolescence into adulthood, or becoming a woman, or really taking your place as a man, as a warrior. And we skip that a lot in our culture. We have skipped a lot of those rites of passage. Yeah, we have bar mitzvahs and confirmations, but generally, we often don't have the depth of that because we don't have elders around who've done it themselves. So how can that happen? And our religions don't usually do it that much. So one of the things we've realized that the emotional body is healed the most by ceremonies. That's what heals the emotional body more than anything, a sacred ceremony where you really feel the sacredness of this divine presence, and you're actually, like going through these passages and transformations. And we have fire ceremonies. We have blessings, like one thing called the healer consecration ceremony, where you actually, like, the indigenous elders show up and these light beings show up and actually consecrate you as a healer. There's one for healing the wounds that women go through. So there's several of these sacred ceremonies that we'll be doing at this retreat, and we have the time to do these things. So let me just see if there's what else I want to go over the details. The investment for the retreat, 5 days, including the lodging and all the meals, is $1,695. And I don't know if you've ever looked at the cost of these kind of retreats before, but this is about as low as it can be to cover all these expenses. We do have a few slots left called early registration. I think most of those are filled, but there's a few. So if you're really interested, you should let us know as soon as possible, where you can actually save $250 off that for $1,450. So again, you'll have a link sent to you in your inbox where you can go to this page and actually put a deposit or register for it if you want to make sure you try to get one of those. But after the first 8, then it'll be this, which is still very reasonable. And I know the rest of it is, again, infinite numbers of testimonials and so on, but just wanted to see that. So a $500 deposit's enough to get into the retreat at this point. We're also limiting it to only 20 people. We're already well on our way toward that. So we don't want this to be a really big group. We want to have the individual attention for each person. So that's what those are. And again, I want to just put in the chat, the first step for any of these we recommend is to have a phone consult, again, to make sure it's a good match. So I'm going to put that link in the chat.
So some people are asking the retreats in Santa Cruz, you guys, just a reminder, Santa Cruz, California. You can fly into San Jose. It's the 4th through the 8th. We'll start midday on Thursday and finish midday on the 9th. And if you have another question, just reach out to Darren and I. We can explain it all to you, send you more details. So
sorry, I misspelled my name the first time, but it's www.talk, number 2, then Darren, DARREN.com. So we're now going to move into our final healing part of this event. Thank you so much for your staying with us all this time. We're very grateful to you that you're here with us. Whether you go further in this journey or just with us today, either way, this is a very sacred experience to share this with you. And I'm just grateful that Zoom exists and is part of the Aquarian age we're in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a little more music again, which is really great. Some special music for this purpose. That's not, I don't think I want to do that. Hold on, let me try this again. Stop share. Okay. Share sound. Okay, that's all. That's all I need to do. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right, there we go. I'm going to just pin Odysseus and I both together here. We're going to do this side by side.
just a reminder, guys, if you have any questions or want to learn more about the work that we're doing, just reach out to either Darren or I. I'm really grateful for everybody who tuned in today. As I mentioned, I love teaching this stuff, and I'm really thankful for Darren supporting me. And we look forward to supporting you if you feel called.
So again, I just want to remind you that you are the source of this. It's not us giving you the meditation. We're acting as focal points, as facilitators. So just relax. Put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your 2 front upper teeth. That's the master hookup. One of the simplest meditation practices, one of the most powerful. Just put your tongue in that position and relax. Breathe. Just rest your mind from all the data and all the information you've gotten over the last few hours. Just really come into the sacred chalice of this moment. And just embrace yourself right now, exactly as you are. I just feel the presence of Christ consciousness coming into the space right now. And if anyone has any experience they want to share, you're welcome to just put it in the chat right now. So we're going to start with a little bit of central channel breathing. Ody talked about this earlier. It's one of the most powerful embodiment practices. Just imagine a ball of light above the top of your head. And as you breathe in, that ball of light moves down through your crown, through the center of your head, through your throat, and you finish your in-breath around the heart. And just linger there for a moment. And then when you're ready to breathe out, the ball of light moves down from your heart, solar plexus, navel, sacral area, root, and then down into that earth star underneath the earth. And then when you breathe in, it moves up, lower chakras, back up to your heart. Finish the in-breath around your heart. Linger there a little bit, letting that beautiful earth energy connect with your heart. Then breathe out, up through the head, up to the divine connection that you are. Just go back and forth like that for a few moments. Just do the best you can. Keeping your tongue in the master hookup, just breathing up and down that central axis. If you get distracted, that's no problem. You just bring your mind back. If you have to do it 1,000 times, that's okay. Those distractions are the place of shadow inside of us, the place where we don't have the embodiment. They're often connected with old trauma. So as we do this work, we gradually bring those shadows into the light, as Ody was so beautifully saying. And then you gain more of yourself back. You gain more of your embodiment back. You gain more of your love back, more of your power back. And that's manifested through your ability to stay present. Ody, anytime you wish to, say something, like let's just flow back and forth and let the quantum field guide us. Just really sense this vibration in your body, because it's the only one you have. Now I invite you to, again, just sense what you are feeling, what you're sensing now. Not what you think it should be like, but exactly as it is. Like, what blend of energy and fatigue are you feeling? What blend of enjoyment or discomfort are you feeling? What does your vibration feel like right now? We've talked about the situation in our country and in many other countries, and people deal with it in different ways. But the thing is, we're all experiencing it because we're all microcosms. So by doing this shadow work, by doing this quantum healing, you actually are contributing to the healing of the collective by just finding it in yourself, that wetiko, and bringing the love and the consciousness to it. Then coming more into that reciprocity, aini, one step at a time. I want you to consider that you are an avatar right now. Jesus and Buddha and all those people, they just came to show what all of us are here to do, to be embodied, to be love. And none of us need to be martyrs anymore. We're here to be empowered, to have this community that supports us, safe. Terry just said, I feel the love of self and all of you together. So if there's something that you would like to receive healing for, something that hurts, something that aches, whether it's emotional or physical, something that feels where you feel drained or out of alignment, just simply make the request silently, or you can put it in the chat too. Most welcome to do that too. Part of Aini is being willing to receive. Many of us have this, many healers have this thing, like I just have, and Ody mentioned that earlier, just want to give. Like, it's almost like some sense of guilt, or like I have to like prove myself, or I have to prove I'm a good person or something. You can let go of all those identities, all those old compulsions. Just be willing to receive. Okay, read your message, Sabrina. Thank you for stating that. So for Sabrina and everybody else who identified something you'd like to heal, here's the magic step. Just say, where in my body am I most aware of the energy of this problem? Because Buddha said, for every thought in the mind, there's always a sensation in the body. So just say, where in my body am I most aware of grief? Am I most aware of anxiety? Or am I most aware of pain? Am I most aware of drain? Am I most aware of fear? Because that fear is at the root of most of these experiences. And just find, it's usually one of the chakras. Just put your hand over that area. Just drop into that area. Just simply be aware of the sensations associated with that part of you, the emotions, the textures of that part of you. Now, anybody here, if there's any people here that are very sensitive to spiritual energy, I'd love to know what you're picking up on, because I really feel the presence of Christ consciousness here, the Divine Mother. I feel like they're really strong right now. Very beautiful. So just take advantage of it. By the way, when I say Christ, I am not a Christian. It has nothing to do with religion. It's an experience. It's a incredible, perfect love that fills the space. So now just breathe into that part of your body you acknowledged and identified. It's good to have your hand there if you can. Just allow this perfect love, this quantum love, to permeate that part of you. It's just an allowing, it's not a doing. Relaxing. And maybe you might want to say to yourself, I am willing to be healed. I'm worthy of being healed and whole. I don't need to punish myself anymore. When you go into the shadow, you'll find some things that you may not realize are there, like self-punishment, old agreements to suffer, old contracts we made to keep living certain things over and over again, curses that you might have put on yourself because it was too overwhelming to feel all the things you were feeling. I mean, there's so many things I've identified myself that I never imagined were there. I release the agreements that I've made to carry burdens that are not mine. That's a big one. When I was a baby, I subconsciously agreed to carry the Holocaust in my body. I grew up in a Jewish family. Where there were so many people who perished. And my soul, innocent little soul, said, okay, I'll take it on. And boy, did that crush me for many years. And now I realize that's not mine to carry. Yet I send blessings to my ancestors. I can do that. Ody, anything you want to bring into this sacred meditation?
Yeah, I wanted to share a little love frequency meditation to take this a little bit deeper. So as I mentioned earlier, the center of the word heart is ear. So I'd love for you all to, if you feel called, to bring one or both hands into your heart space and place your hands on the center of your chest. Just take a few deep breaths in that space and just really deeply be with your heart. As you tune into that space, imagine this inner smile, just smiling from that heart space. And as you smile from your heart, imagine listening deeply to whatever messages your heart has for you. If any thoughts arise for you, imagine they're like clouds in the sky. Just let them blow away and return to that heart space. Just keep that breath going. Just keep holding your attention in that heart space. I'd like for you to begin to imagine somebody that you love, be it a friend, a family member, or a pet. Imagine that they're sitting in front of you right now. That friend, family member, maybe it's a pet or a dog or a cat or a fish, who knows? Just feel the love that you have for that person or that pet. And as you tune into your heart space, imagine that heart opening up and just feeling that frequency of love as deeply as you can for that person. And just breathe into that energy for a few breaths. Just feeling how deeply you love that person or that pet. Just be with that energy for a few breaths. Feel it to the point where you almost feel like crying because you love them so much. Just remaining in that heart space. Just keep breathing into that energy, that loving energy for that person that you love or that pet. And see if you can intensify it a little bit more. Just feeling that heart opening up. And now I'd like for you to imagine, if you will, loving yourself as much as you love that person or that pet. Can you love yourself as much as you love other people? And just feel into that energy. Forget the meaning and tune into that frequency of love. Can you love yourself as much as you love other people? And just feel your heart opening up and any blockages you have in that space just melting away. Just keep breathing into that energy, loving yourself as much as you love other people. It's a paradox. And just keep tuning into that heart space. And for these last couple minutes of the meditation, Love for everybody as you tune into your heart space and feeling that frequency of love. Everyone on this call, imagine what it would feel like if everybody on the planet, if their heart was open too. I forget the meaning of that, but everybody just tuned into the feeling of everybody on earth having their heart fully open and what that experience would be like. Let's just marinate in the juice of that for another moment of silence, or minute of silence.
I'd like to bring in one more piece. If you put your hands like this, just imagine the earth in between your hands, the little miniature earth just spinning on its axis. Just the love that you just talked about, Ody, all over the world. We actually have the power as master healers to help heal the earth. If you just believe you can. So just imagine that the earth is there, all the people, everything that's beautiful, everything that's crazy and ugly, whatever it is, and all the animals, all the plants, minerals, the devas, and that this infinite healing power is flowing through your hands and going to all life on earth right now. And everyone here is amplifying this. You also perhaps see the violet flame filling and surrounding the earth, this powerful transmuting energy. Bring us through this difficult time. The new earth, heaven on earth here now. Just pour, all you have to do is pour your love to all life. Not your personal love, it's the divine love that flows through you. It's one of the rites we'll be doing at the retreat is the Earth Keeper rite. It's an ancient shamanic ceremony where you consecrate yourself to being a healer of the earth, if you wish. Okay, so since we're near the end of our time, we can close that. So, Ody, thank you for partnering with me on this. You knocked it out of the park, dude. And
Thank you.
anybody who had any experience during that healing time, we welcome you to put it in the chat. If you notice anything during that time, any of your symptoms that you had, sometimes you notice right, sometimes it takes some time. I'm putting that link one more time, those that wish to are interested in learning more. And so we're going to close now. We're at the end of our time. We thank you so much for staying with us. Those who are here for 3 hours. Again, time rushes when you're having a good time.
Hope to see you at the retreat, guys. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah. So just let's see, was a couple of notes here. Yeah, thank you for your notes, for all the beautiful notes. Blake said, can this quantum work be practiced with youth? Absolutely.
Yes.
Odysseus just started with a 17-year-old client yesterday.
Yep.
Youth is the best place to do it because these are the ones that have to grow up and do something with this planet. And they have this, they're already tuned in. They just need some guidance. They just need some clearing. Okay. So anyway, somebody asked, we're going to officially close now, but I'm going to stay on a few more minutes because somebody had asked about how you could do self-testing, and I said I would talk about that afterwards. But let's just first need to close the sacred space. So that's very important. So to close the sacred space, you can just take your hands and gather up that beautiful Viracocha field of energy. We're just closing it, bring it back into your heart. And one more time for the group. That's part of spiritual courtesy. When you open a sacred space, you need to close it at the end of whatever the healing or the ceremony is. Of course, you could keep living a sacred life. Okay, the sacred space is closed. Now officially end this webinar. Thank you to everybody. Have a great weekend. And again, I'll stick on a few more minutes to answer that question or any other questions people have.
Peace, y'all. Thank you so much. Love you.
Bye, Odysseus. Okay. So in terms of that question, who is it that asked about the self-testing? Maybe just say that in the chat again, please. Claudia said, oh, Claudia, good to see you. She said, I feel the healing. Lisa, Emily, Oscar, Stephanie, Jennifer, Blake, Agamemnon, Terry. Okay, Janet, right, okay. So a very simple way to do self-testing, this is something we really train you on, and I'll introduce you on it now, is called, one of the simplest ways is by trusting your feelings. I'll give you a very simple exercise. If you have a decision that you want to make about a yes or no, something that you're not sure about, just visualize yourself or imagine yourself doing that thing. Like, let's say you're wondering if you should take a trip to Mexico next month or something. So just imagine yourself in Mexico in October and just look at what you're feeling. Just simply look at your feelings. Do you start getting really excited and happy, or is there more of a flat feeling or more of a disconnected feeling? If you just feel sort of neutral or blah, or even worse, that means that your soul doesn't really want you to go to Mexico next month. Maybe some other time. Maybe go to New Zealand. But if you think about going to Mexico in October and you imagine it and you start getting this like elevated feeling, your heart opens, you start feeling excited, your soul wants you to do that. That's a very simple quantum decision-making method. And another one I'll share with you that's my favorite, it's called body pendulum. You just ask your body to sway, you ask your body what direction of swaying would be a yes and which direction is no. And we don't have time to do the whole training now, but I'll just give you that that's basically something that is very important in our program, because you're going to constantly be referring to your higher guidance as you do this healing work for yourself or others. So for me personally, if I ask a question, is today Saturday in California? My body moves forward, because not only my mind, but my higher self knows it is Saturday in California right now. If I ask right now, is it Wednesday in California right now? My body is going in a different direction, which to me indicates no. So again, just play with it, run with it, practice with it, and your body will show you which is the direction of yes and which is the direction of no. It may be different than mine. And the more you rewire those neural pathways in your body, the more it just becomes second nature. So we just saw another message here from Kitty. During that beautiful meditation, I saw a person who triggers me, stabbing me repeatedly in my chest over many lifetimes and then laughing about it. Now, what to do with that? Forgive her for killing me and myself for allowing myself. I did ask the contract to end. Wow, powerful. Well, I mean, basically, that's coming up for a reason, and there's definitely ways to clear yourself of that energy permanently. We don't have time to go into it now, but that's something, we do both offer quantum healing sessions. It might be worth having a session for that. If you want to do something for yourself, do some journaling, do some writing. Go in and just feel the feelings and offer them up to your divine self. Like, remember, your divine self is always here, ready to serve you, ready to heal you. Like the master healer is part of you. So when you first feel something like that person stabbing you and the horror of that, Just ask your divine self to transform that energy and permanently transmute it. You might want to ask, is there any message I need to receive from this before I release it? But there's a whole series of things that we do in quantum healing. And the main thing is connect with your inner healer. And contracts are very real. Soul contracts are very real. And most of us have lots of them. We don't remember. We just see the results of it. We just see different dysfunctions in our life. We don't really see. So when you go within and do the shadow work, you see the source of these things, and then you can actually consciously shift them. But you have absolute right to break any of those contracts. Okay, so we're going to close now. Thank you, everybody. Infinite blessings, much love.